Chapter 1514. The Phoenix clan was an extremely powerful clan among the sacred clans in the Holy World. In terms of strength and bloodline, it was similar to the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan had always been on par with each other. It could be seen how powerful the Phoenix Clan was. Unlike the Dragon Clan's world, the Phoenix Clan was not in an independent space. Instead, it existed in the Holy World. Even so, the Phoenix Clan's territory was extremely huge. How big was the human territory? Moronyu is not very sure now. In any case, it was very, very big. Even though the Phoenix Clan's territory was not as big as the human territory, it was definitely not smaller than the Dragon Clan's world. Didn't they say that the Phoenix Clan has few people and not many experts? What nonsense! When Moronyu entered the Phoenix Clan's territory, he saw huge cities and experts of the Phoenix Clan constantly passing by. Morongyu's expression was a little ugly. Originally, in Morongyu's memory, although the Phoenix Clan was powerful, they were at most hundreds of thousands or millions of clansmen. Moreover, their territory was not so big. They were gathered in a mountain range. However, the difference between what he saw now and what he thought was too great. However, Moronyu also discovered that although there were many clansmen of the Phoenix Clan, their overall strength was about the same as the human race. There were almost no phoenixes who were at the lowest saint realm, just like the Dragon Clan. Although the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan were much stronger than the human race in this aspect. However, there were many humans. Even if, for example, 20% of the human race was at the saint realm, while only 10% of the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan were at the saint realm. On the surface, the human race was weaker than the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan. However, the human race had many people. For example, if there were 100 people in the human race, then 20 of them were at the saint realm. The Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan only had 10 people, even if only 10% of them were at the saint realm. In that case, the human race was still stronger. If not, the human race would have been destroyed by the Sacred Clan long ago. After entering the Phoenix Clan's territory, Moronyu and the others did not stop. Instead, they continued to fly forward. Their goal was the Phoenix Clan's headquarters, Wudong Mountain. Wudong Mountain was the Phoenix Clan's holy land. The patriarch of the Phoenix Clan, the elders, the protectors, and the various geniuses who were focused on nurturing were all on Wudong Mountain. Only the higher-ups of the Phoenix Clan with noble statuses were qualified to stay on Wudong Mountain. Ordinary members of the Phoenix Clan were scattered all over the Phoenix Clan's territory. Although Wudong Mountain was called a mountain, it was actually a continuous mountain range with no end in sight. From afar, one could see that the space around Wudong Mountain was layered and covered by countless formations and restrictions. If one wanted to enter Mount Wudong, they had to have a method to do so. If they tried to barge in directly, even ordinary primal chaos ancestor sages would not be able to do so. Everyone from the Dragon Clan, Moronyu, and the others had just arrived at the foot of Wudong Mountain when the people from the Phoenix Clan, who had been waiting at the foot of the mountain, came forward to welcome them. However, Moronyu discovered that although the leading Phoenix powerhouse had a smile on his face, he was quite enthusiastic. However, the expressions of some of the young experts from the Phoenix Clan who were accompanying them did not look good. Some of them even glared at Moronyu and the others. Although Moronyu and the others seemed to be here to train on the surface, their goal was to abduct the women of the Phoenix Clan. Moreover, it was not as simple as just one. Which of the women of the Phoenix Clan on Wudong Mountain was not a true genius of the Phoenix Clan? These people could become experts at the level of the primal chaos ancestor sages and become the pillars of the Phoenix Clan. If they were abducted by the Dragon Clan, they would suffer a great loss. However, no member of the Phoenix Clan was willing to let the beauties and geniuses of their clan be abducted by other clans. Naturally, they did not treat Moronyu and the others well. Just like the inner hall of the true martial sacred hall, a special identity token was required to enter and exit Wudong Mountain. However, Moronyu and the others did not need the elders of the Phoenix Clan to lead the way. However, if they wanted to come out after entering without the elders to lead the way, they would be trapped on Wudong Mountain for the rest of their lives. What rich heaven-earth essence energy! After stepping into Wudong Mountain, Murong Yu's expression changed slightly. This was because he felt that the heaven-earth essence energy on Wudong Mountain was at least 100 times richer than the outside world. And this was only the periphery of Wudong Mountain. If the heaven-earth essence energy on the periphery was so terrifying, then what about the depths? How many times would it reach? 300 times, 500 times, or 1,000 times? With such rich heaven-earth essence energy, even a pig's cultivation would not be weak here. Moreover, the people here were all geniuses of the Phoenix clan. Friends of the Dragon clan, you will be staying here temporarily for the next few days. During this period of time, you can go anywhere on Wudong Mountain except for some forbidden areas that you can't enter. As for whether you can win the heart of the beauty, that will depend on your own abilities. The elder of the Phoenix clan brought Murong Yu and the others to a mountain peak and left after saying that. Unlike ordinary people, as elders of the Phoenix clan, they naturally knew the purpose of the Dragon clan's visit. Moreover, other than the Dragon clan, the men of the Phoenix clan could also go to the Dragon clan's world and abduct Dragon clan beauties. It was the same for both clans, and it was beneficial for both clans. We will be staying in the Phoenix clan for 3 years. Whether you can win the heart of the beauty still depends on your own efforts. However, it's best not to barge into some places, or we can't save you. Remember, you can use any means, but don't use force or any despicable means, or you will die without a doubt. An elder of the Abyss Dragon clan slowly glanced at Murong Yu, and then said coldly, "On this mountain peak, everyone had their own independent manner. After choosing their own manner, the various experts of the Dragon clan left one after another. Murong Yu naturally left too. However, he left alone. During this period of time, he played the role of a man of few words. Although his body was the purest true dragon, the more he spoke, the more he spoke. In order not to give himself away, he could only do this. Jiqing, I'm coming." Murong Yu suppressed the excitement in his heart, flew down the mountain peak, and flew forward aimlessly. "Greetings, senior brothers." Not long after, Murong Yu saw a few Saint Kings of the Dragon clan coming towards him. So Murong Yu landed, walked up to them, and bowed. He had no choice. Although Murong Yu was only Zhao Jiqing, she was the saintess of the Phoenix clan, and he could sense Zhao Jiqing's existence. However, this was Wudong Mountain, and he did not want to rush into some forbidden grounds of the Phoenix clan and be killed directly. Therefore, he had to find out more. As the saying went, one does not hit a smiling person. Seeing how polite Murong Yu was, the Saint Kings of the Phoenix clan were a little unhappy, but they still smiled and bowed back. "Senior brothers, may I ask where Saintess Zhao Jiqing is?" Murong Yu went straight to the point. After all, everyone knew what the Dragon clan and the others wanted, so why did they need to be secretive? The Saint Kings of the Phoenix clan were stunned when they heard that. They acted like they did not know anything. Murong Yu was stunned as well. He discovered that they were not faking it. They really did not know who Zhao Jiqing was. However, there was no reason for them to not know that Zhao Jiqing was the saintess of the Phoenix clan. Had something happened to Zhao Jiqing? Murong Yu's heart could not help but sink when he thought of that. No, the name Zhao Jiqing seems rather familiar. A Saint King of the Phoenix clan frowned as he began to think. All right, wasn't Saintess Xueqing's name Zhao Jiqing before? Another Saint King of the Phoenix clan suddenly thought of something and asked. Only then did the other Saint Kings come to a realization. However, they quickly turned to stare at Murong Yu with unfriendly gazes. "Kid, you want to pursue Saintess Xueqing?" The Saint Kings of the Phoenix clan stepped forward and looked at Murong Yu coldly. Killing intent radiated from them. Murong Yu was delighted, but he did not show it on the surface. He asked, "What? I can't pursue your saintess?" A toad lusting after a swan. "You? Do you know who Saintess Xueqing is? She's the #1 genius of the Phoenix clan, an ancestral saint expert, and she'll reach the ancestral saint level soon. Who do you think you are? How dare you pursue Saintess Xueqing? The Saint Kings of the Phoenix clan looked at Murong Yu murderously. Their expressions were filled with disdain. If it weren't for the fact that you're a guest from afar, I'd kill you right away. One had to know that Saintess Xueqing was Zhao Jiqing. Not only was she the #1 genius of the Phoenix clan, but she was also the #1 beauty of the Phoenix clan. She could become the matriarch of the Phoenix clan in the future. She was the object of admiration of all the men in the Phoenix clan. Although many people knew that it was impossible for them to win the Saintess Xueqing's heart, they still wanted to keep the goodies within their own clan. They were determined to stop the foreign races from having any ideas about Zhao Jiqing. Not only was Murong Yu not enraged by the Phoenix clan's Saint ruler's actions, he was actually overjoyed. The stronger Zhao Jiqing was, the higher her status, the less danger she would encounter in the Phoenix clan. Junior brothers, why are you neglecting our junior brother of the Dragon clan? Saintess Xueqing is so beautiful. It's natural for others to pursue her. How can we stop our junior brother? Junior brother, Saintess Xueqing is on Xueqing Peak. Just follow this path. A Saint King of the Phoenix clan suddenly pointed out Zhao Jiqing's exact location to Murong Yu. Senior brother, I'll definitely thank you properly when I win the Saintess Xueqing's heart. I'll be leaving first. Murong Yu cupped his fist at the Saint King of the Phoenix clan before quickly disappearing from where he was. Senior brother, why are you like this? The other Saint Kings looked at the Saint King who pointed out the path to Murong Yu in confusion. The Saint King sneered, "Don't forget who Saintess Xueqing is. She doesn't even care about the geniuses of our Phoenix clan. She has many suitors. He, that idiot Dragon clan brat, will probably be thrown out before he even reaches Xueqing Peak." Chapter 15:15. Murong Yu didn't know how cunning the Saint Kings of the Phoenix clan were. However, even if he knew, he would definitely go back to look for Zhao Jiqing. On the way, Murong Yu found out that Snow Clear Peak, where Zhao Jiqing was at, wasn't a forbidden area of the Phoenix clan. In principle, anyone could go up there. Of course, the prerequisite was that they weren't afraid of being thrown down by Zhao Jiqing's people. Zhao Jiqing was the holy maiden of the Phoenix clan. She was also a strong contender to be the next leader of the Phoenix clan. Over the years, there were naturally many experts of the Phoenix clan who gathered around her. Other than these experts who followed her, Zhao Jiqing also had countless followers. These people would definitely not allow their competitors to go up to Snow Clear Peak. The more he understood Zhao Jiqing's situation, the more Murong Yu sneered in his heart. He wasn't sneering because of the Phoenix clan, but because of those people who were pursuing Zhao Jiqing. How dare they have designs on his woman? Very soon, Murong Yu appeared at the foot of Snow Clear Peak. When Murong Yu arrived, he didn't know how many people were pursuing Zhao Jiqing. The entire Snow Clear Peak was filled with people. Some of them were experts from the Dragon clan who came with Murong Yu, while most of them were young experts from the Phoenix clan. There were even experts from other clans. Among these people, some were pursuing Zhao Jiqing, while others were subordinates of Zhao Jiqing's pursuers. Dragon clan, are you also pursuing Holy Maiden Xueqing? As soon as Murong Yu approached, a Saint King expert from the Phoenix clan walked over. He looked at Murong Yu with a gloomy face and killing intent. Murong Yu stood where he was and looked at the Saint King expert indifferently. What? I can't pursue her? Saintess Xueqing is a top genius of the Phoenix clan. She belongs to the Phoenix clan. You foreign races had better not have any ideas. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. An ancestor sage stepped forward and stood in front of Murong Yu. His expression was cold and murderous. Hearing this, the other foreign races could not help but frown slightly, and a flash of displeasure flashed across their faces. They were all foreign races. Now that they were being ostracized by the Phoenixes, how could they feel comfortable? What a joke. Even if Holy Maiden Xueqing is from the Phoenix clan, what does that have to do with you? Moreover, I seem to have heard that the Holy Maiden Xueqing wasn't originally a member of the Phoenix clan. Murong Yu said indifferently as he glanced at the experts of the Phoenix clan. Many experts from the Phoenix clan frowned, and their faces turned gloomy. Regarding Zhao Jiqing's background, these people were very clear about it. A toad lusting after a swan? You pieces of trash are simply wasting my time. Get out of my way. A good dog doesn't block the way. Morongyu roared and took a step forward. You're courting death. The experts of the Phoenix clan were instantly enraged. One of the Holy Kings roared and threw a punch at Morongyu. Even if Morongyu and the others were guests from afar, they would not kill Morongyu and the others, but they could still severely injure them. An all-out attack. Feeling the opponent's power, Morongyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He did not move, but just took a step forward, and his entire body collided with the Holy King. Bang! The Holy King's huge fist landed heavily on Morongyu's body. At this moment, the Holy King's face showed a hint of joy. He was a third-level Holy King, and Morongyu was only a first-level Holy King. He would not kill Morongyu, but severely injuring Morongyu would not be a problem. However, the smile on his face soon disappeared. That was because he felt a sharp pain in his fist. Then, his entire fist shattered. However, Morongyu's speed did not stop at all, and he collided with the Holy King. Before the Holy King of the Phoenix clan could react, Morongyu had already collided with him. Suddenly, the Holy King of the Phoenix clan let out a shrill scream, and his entire body was sent flying. In midair, his physical body exploded with a bang. The explosion of the physical body did not have much effect on the Holy King. It healed in an instant. Therefore, the Holy King of the Phoenix clan reformed his physical body in an instant. However, after reforming his physical body, he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and then he looked at Morongyu with a face full of anger. That was because he realized that his soul seemed to have been attacked, and it was severely injured. The physical body was easy to recover, but the soul was difficult to recover. Without tens of thousands of years, his soul would not be able to recover to normal. What about me? Get lost immediately, or I'll kill you. Morongyu glared at him and said coldly. The Holy King of the Phoenix clan was furious, and he wanted to slap Morongyu to death. However, he did not dare to do so. If Morongyu attacked his soul again, he would definitely die. Therefore, he glared at Morongyu with a face full of hatred, but he still left. Coward, Morongyu said with disdain, and he took a step forward, walking towards Snow Clear Peak. Great! Seeing that Morongyu had defeated the stronger Holy King, the Dragon Clan and the other foreign races could not help but shout. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Clan's experts all looked gloomy. Friend, this is not the Dragon Clan, but the Phoenix Clan. How dare you injure my clansmen in the Phoenix Clan for no reason? Aren't you a little too bold? Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents. A cold voice suddenly rang out, and then a large hand appeared above Morongyu's head out of thin air, and it came down on his head. Ancestor Sage, how shameless! Seeing the strength of the person who had attacked, the Dragon Clan and the other foreign races could not help but change their expressions. However, that was all they could do. They were not strong enough, so they did not dare to attack. However, the Dragon Clan's experts knew of Morongyu's strength. They were shocked and angry, and they watched as if they were watching a good show. They all wanted Morongyu to give the Phoenix Clan's experts a good beating. Bullying the weak, is this how the Phoenix Clan treats their guests? Morongyu's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he sneered. He did not do anything, but he took a step forward. Then, everyone saw a shadow flash before their eyes, and Morongyu appeared outside the attack range of the Ancestor Sage of the Phoenix Clan. He looked at the Ancestor Sage of the Phoenix Clan with a mocking expression. The Ancestor Sage of the Phoenix Clan's face flashed with embarrassment when his attack missed. However, he did not think that Morongyu had the strength to dodge his attack. He was just lucky. Therefore, he took a step forward, reached out his claw, and grabbed at Morongyu in the air again. Kid, surrender. I'll break your legs and be done with it. Otherwise, even if I don't kill you, you won't have an easy time. The Ancestor Sage of the Phoenix Clan said coldly. As long as no one died, The communication between the two clans was allowed. It had always been like this. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. You want to break my legs? In that case, I'll break all your limbs. Murong Yu was also angry. He came here to see Zhao Jiqing, not to be entangled with these people. He did not have so much time to be entangled with these people. Originally, he just wanted to intimidate these people from the Phoenix clan. But now, it seemed that if he did not use more force, these people would not back down. As he spoke, Murong Yu did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward and punched at the ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan. You're overestimating yourself. The ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan's face was full of disdain. He did not think that Murong Yu, a first-level holy king, could have the strength of a third-level ancestor sage. However, he soon realized that he was wrong, and very wrong. Crack! The moment their hands came into contact with each other, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. At this moment, everyone saw that the hands of the Phoenix clan's powerhouse had turned into a bloody mist. On the other hand, Murong Yu's big hand only paused for a moment. Then, it went straight for the chest of the ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan. Explode! This time, Murong Yu didn't hold back as he blasted out with an enormous amount of energy. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. Before the ancestor sage of the Dragon clan could react, his body had already exploded into a bloody mist. In fact, he would not be defeated by Murong Yu so quickly. However, he underestimated Murong Yu and thought that Murong Yu was just an ant. Therefore, when he realized that Murong Yu was not an ant, but a prehistoric beast, it was already too late. He did not have time to react, nor did he have time to take out his holy weapon or magic treasure. Seeing this, the surrounding people could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Murong Yu defeated a third-level ancestor sage with the strength of a first-level holy king. His strength was definitely at the level of a peerless genius. Whoosh! As his soul was not injured, the powerhouse of the Phoenix clan quickly condensed a new body. At this moment, he was looking at Murong Yu in shock. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, before he could finish his sentence, a huge fist came flying toward him. It was a loud bang. The ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan was once again blasted apart by Murong Yu. Clean and neat. Awesome. The few members of the mysterious clan felt extremely good. They were suppressed by the Phoenix clan and did not dare to resist. Now that they felt the same way, they naturally felt very good. However, while they were feeling good, the people of the Phoenix clan were not. Their faces darkened as they looked at Murong Yu with murderous intent. Bang! At this moment, Murong Yu once again blasted the ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan. Kid, that's enough. Finally, the people of the Phoenix clan could not stand it anymore. A powerhouse stood in front of Murong Yu and protected the ancestor sage behind him. Although the ancestor sage's body was blasted apart, it would not kill him. However, if the ancestor sage's body was blasted apart too many times, it would also hurt his origin energy. Do you think it's enough just because you say so? Murong Yu glanced at the ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan. Then, he took a step forward and disappeared in front of everyone. Oh no! The ancestor sage of the Phoenix clan, who was blocking Murong Yu, roared in his heart. At this moment, there was an explosion behind him. He immediately turned his head to look, but all he saw was a cloud of blood. Murong Yu had blasted the ancestor sage's body for the fourth time. Chapter 15:16. Although Murong Yu didn't attack the ancestor sage's soul, the Phoenix clan ancestor sage's foundation had already been injured after his body was destroyed 4 times in a row. It wasn't a problem for him to recover his physical body, but his foundation was damaged. It was impossible for him to return to his peak strength. If he were to rely on himself to recover to his peak, it would probably take tens of thousands of years. Brat, you're too presumptuous. The ancestor sage who'd blocked Murong Yu's path earlier roared as he abruptly stretched out his hand. His 5 fingers spread open as he viciously pressed down on Murong Yu, intending to suppress him. Murong Yu didn't fight back. He only took a step back. He then coldly looked at the ancestral saint and said, You're the masters. I don't want to fight, but don't force me. I can't guarantee that I'll be able to control my strength so well later. A threat. It was a blatant threat. Although Murong Yu was a saint monarch, his true strength was comparable to an ancestral saint. After seeing Murong Yu's true strength, no one present felt that Murong Yu's words weren't threatening. Thus, the Phoenix powerhouse forcibly withdrew his hand. However, he was still glaring at Murong Yu with a murderous intent. Zhao Jiqing was the #1 beauty of the Phoenix clan. She had countless suitors. There were even many young experts who had reached the primal chaos ancestral saint level. However, although these experts were pursuing Zhao Jiqing, they wouldn't guard snowy, clear peak like these people. That would be beneath their status. Therefore, the people gathered here were mostly low to mid-level ancestral saints or young experts of the Phoenix clan. Judging from the strength Murong Yu had just displayed, he could definitely sweep through all the Phoenix clan's experts. Moreover, they couldn't just swarm him. If this matter were to spread, not only would they lose face, but the entire Phoenix clan would lose face as well. Everyone, I only want to go to snowy clear peak. I'm not here to suppress you. Murong Yu couldn't help but smile when he saw everyone hesitate. The young experts from the Phoenix clan almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Although Murong Yu said it nicely, the key point was the word suppress. Murong Yu could suppress them all by himself. Who asked those super geniuses of the Phoenix clan not to be here? However, someone had already spread the news. He believed that the super geniuses of the Phoenix clan would be here soon. Move aside, let him go up. The ancestor sage, who had wanted to suppress Murong Yu, shouted with an ashen face as he stepped aside to open up a path. The other ancestral sages looked at Murong Yu angrily and had no intention of making way for him. Everyone, we can't stop him with our strength. If he continued to obstruct them, he would only be adding to the humiliation. What was Snow Clear Peak? This bastard couldn't go up at all. As long as he took half a step towards Snowy Clear Peak, he would be thrown out by Snowy Clear Peak. At that time, the peerless geniuses of our Phoenix clan had also rushed over. Seeing that no one moved aside, the ancestral saint from the Phoenix clan transmitted his voice to the crowd. Therefore, the crowd glared at Murong Yu fiercely and stepped aside. However, their eyes were filled with ridicule as they looked at Murong Yu. Murong Yu's heart sank. He sensed that something was wrong from the looks of those people. However, he had already arrived at Snow Clear Peak. Even if there was a mountain of knives and a sea of fire in front of him, he had to give it a try. Therefore, he took off and flew towards Snow Clear Peak. Seeing Murong Yu fly away like a shooting star, many experts from the Phoenix clan sneered. Whoosh! Murong Yu stepped on his Snow Clear Peak. Who dares to trespass on my Snow Clear Peak? At that moment, an extremely huge and powerful aura descended from the sky and enveloped Murong Yu. Poof! Suddenly, it was as if an ancient sacred mountain was pressing down on Murong Yu's head. The pressure made Murong Yu's body shrink. At the same time, a huge hand appeared out of thin air and reached out from Snow Clear Peak. It shattered space and time and appeared above Murong Yu's head in an instant. Then, it grabbed at Murong Yu. Boom! Crack! Under the immense pressure, the bones in Murong Yu's body began to crackle. In fact, the immense pressure even caused his body to bow slightly. The pressure of a primal chaos ancestral saint. If it was an ordinary ancient saint, he would have exploded into a cloud of blood mist from the pressure. However, Murong Yu is not an ordinary person. Murong Yu's physical body had already reached the level of an upper sacred artifact. His physical body could barely resist this level of pressure. However, it was not Murong Yu now. It was his clone, Murong Long Rongmu. His clone's physical body was that of a primal chaos ancestral saint. Perhaps Murong Yu could not unleash the power of a primal chaos ancestral saint now, but he could resist the pressure of an expert of the same level. Roar! Murong Yu let out an angry roar from his throat. The power of a primal chaos ancestral saint's physical body exploded. With a boom, Murong Yu felt the huge pressure on him lighten. Following that, Muronyu abruptly straightened his body and stood between heaven and earth. Eh! Seeing this scene, a cry of surprise came from Snowy Peak. The Phoenix experts who were waiting to watch a good show at the foot of the mountain changed their expressions. This bastard is so powerful. He can even resist the pressure of a primal, chaos, ancestral saint. Everyone was shocked. They all knew that the one who attacked was a primal chaos ancestral saint who followed the saintess of Snow Clear Peak. This primal chaos ancestral saint did not usually attack. However, if any of his pursuers dared to step on his Snow Clear Peak, he would attack directly. For so long, countless young experts of the Phoenix clan had been suppressed by this primal chaos ancestral saint. Therefore, they only stopped at the foot of Snow Clear Peak and did not dare to step onto the lightning pool. They were afraid of this primal chaos ancestral saint. The reason they had given way was because they wanted to see Muronyu suppressed. Elder Feng, his oppressive aura, actually failed to suppress that dragon. While the crowd at the foot of the mountain was astonished, some of the experts on Snowy Peak were also looking at Muronyu with astonishment. Whoosh! The huge hand that was about to grab Muronyu disappeared instantly. Feng saw that his pressure could not suppress Muronyu and retracted it. It was not that he wanted to let Muronyu go, but rumble, an even more powerful pressure gushed out. Like a surging torrent, it tore through space and time and pressed down on Muronyu. Rumble. Although Muronyu had long since prepared himself, the pressure was still too frightening. In the blink of an eye, his originally straight back bent down again. Umph! Muronyu snorted in his heart, and his primal chaos ancestral saint-level body shook again. Under everyone's incredulous gaze, he slowly straightened his back again. Finally, with a crack, Muronyu stood up straight again. Not only that, after standing up straight, Muronyu took a step forward and charged towards Snow Clear Peak. Feng couldn't help but feel enraged when he saw that he had failed to suppress Muronyu, a sacred ruler, twice. He snorted coldly and released an even stronger pressure. This time his aura had reached 80%. Using 80% of his power to suppress a sage ruler like Muronyu was embarrassing. However, if he could not suppress Muronyu, it would be even more embarrassing. Rumble. Under the pressure of 80% of the pressure, Muronyu felt that all the bones in his body were about to break. His body, which was originally straight, bent down again. Not only that, but the terrifying pressure pressed down on his feet and hands, causing them to sink deep into the ground. Moreover, an incomparably powerful pressure continued to press down on Muronyu, as if it wanted to shatter his entire body. Being unable to suppress Muronyu twice already made Feng feel incomparably furious and humiliated. This time, he decided to teach Muronyu a lesson. Rumble. A series of popping sounds came from Muronyu's body. His waist bent down continuously and was about to reach his knees. At this moment, Muronyu was furious. He did not have a good impression of the Phoenix tribe to begin with, and now he was even more pissed. Bullying the weak. That was all the Phoenix tribe could do. Want to suppress me? What a fool's dream. Muronyu's heart burned with rage as he roared. Then, with a boom, he revealed his true body. Thus, a 2 million miles long golden dragon appeared at the foot of Snow Clear Peak. Waves of powerful dragon aura erupted from the golden dragon's body and swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. It was enough to intimidate thousands of worlds. At the same time that the golden dragon appeared, the primal chaos ancestor sage's pressure was directly dispersed. It's actually a golden dragon. Many experts from the Phoenixes and other races couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the 2 million mile long true dragon that stretched across the sky. The golden dragon was the royal family of the dragon tribe and had an extremely high status. Of course, there were still many golden dragons in the dragon tribe's world. Therefore, even though Muronyu had once revealed his identity as a golden dragon, he did not receive special attention from the Abyss Dragon tribe. However, Feng's heart skipped a beat. It was true that he was a primal chaos ancestor sage, But how many primal chaos ancestor sages were there in the Phoenix tribe? His identity was only ordinary. Not only was Murong-Yu a golden dragon, but he was also very powerful. Even so, Murong-Yu's status in the dragon tribe was higher than his. If Murong-Yu's strength broke through, his status would rise as well. He was not someone that Feng he could compare to. If he continued to suppress Murong-Yu and injured Murong-Yu, he would not have a good ending. The golden dragon is the royal family of the dragon tribe. However, no matter who you are or what your identity is, this is Snow Clear Peak of the Phoenix tribe. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from Snow Clear Peak. Although the voice was cold, it was as pleasant as the sound of nature. When they heard this voice, the many animals gathered at the foot of Snow Clear Peak were instantly excited. Murong-Yu's heart was also stirred up. Chapter 15-17. The cold yet heavenly voice belonged to holy maiden Xue-Qing of the Phoenix clan, Zhao Jiqing. Usually, holy maiden Xue-Qing spent most of her time cultivating on Xue-Qing Peak. She rarely walked around the Phoenix clan, let alone left. As a result, most people in the Phoenix clan could not see Zhao Jiqing often. Even the top geniuses of the Phoenix clan were the same. It was because of this that these people became more excited when they heard Zhao Jiqing's voice. Only when they saw Zhao Jiqing would they be able to pursue her. Otherwise, wouldn't it be pointless? As for Murong-Yu, he was obviously excited. Ever since they ascended to the Saint's world, Zhao Jiqing had been taken away by the Phoenix clan. She had threatened Murong-Yu to not let Murong-Yu near the Phoenix clan's territory. It was obvious how much Murong-Yu missed Zhao Jiqing. If it were not for the fact that he was not strong enough, Murong-Yu would have killed his way to the Phoenix clan long ago. Before he could finish speaking, a beautiful woman in snow-white clothes appeared in front of everyone. Who else could it be but Zhao Jiqing? Whoosh! Suddenly, countless people's eyes were cast on Zhao Jiqing. Although she was already used to these gazes, Zhao Jiqing's face still darkened. None of these gazes were pure. Every single one of them was filled with desire. They liked Zhao Jiqing. The first thing they liked was Zhao Jiqing's identity. The second thing they liked was Zhao Jiqing's beauty. However, none of them truly loved Zhao Jiqing. Zhao Jiqing knew this very well. As a result, she would never be nice to these so-called pursuers. It was not only because these people wanted to pursue her, but also because she was Murong-Yu's wife. Feeling the lustful gazes on her, Zhao Jiqing snorted coldly and turned to leave. However, just as she was about to leave, she suddenly felt that there was something different about the gazes on her. There was no lust, no passion, only this gaze gave Zhao Jiqing a very special feeling. Thus, Zhao Jiqing stopped in her tracks. Her gaze swept across the void and met the gaze of that person. The moment their gazes met, Zhao Jiqing's heart trembled for some reason. A familiar feeling appeared in the depths of her heart. Holy Maiden Xue-Qing is looking at me. Do you see? She's looking at me. Seeing Zhao Jiqing's gaze, the Phoenix clan and foreign race experts could not help but become excited. However, they soon became depressed. Then, one by one, they exploded with boundless killing intent. They'd realized that Zhao Jiqing wasn't looking at them, but at Murong-Yu. Shue shue, shue shue shue, 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 shue shue shue. Her shue, shue shue shue. Shue 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 yui shue. Shue 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 yes. Deep love. Didn't this kid from the Dragon Clan just come out of the Dragon Clan's world? Why is Holy Maiden Xue-Qing looking at him like that? Could it be that Holy Maiden Xue-Qing has taken a liking to him? The moment this thought appeared, Zhao Jiqing's suitors felt a sense of foreboding. Some of them were even filled with killing intent towards Murong-Yu. Zhao Jiqing's heart trembled. Just now, she saw that pair of eyes that she had been dreaming about. But she knew that at this moment, that gaze could not possibly appear here. Because this was the Phoenix clan, and that person was from the Dragon Clan. With Zhao Jiqing's current strength, she could tell that Murong-Yu was from the Dragon Clan. And Murong-Yu had even revealed his true form. Also, other than that gaze, Zhao Jiqing did not sense any familiar aura or soul aura. Could it be that I'm hallucinating because I miss him too much? That must be it. Zhao Jiqing snorted, retracted her gaze, and turned to leave. Seeing that Zhao Jiqing was about to leave and that her gaze had changed, the Phoenix clan and the other alien races could not help but heave a sigh of relief. It was good that Zhao Jiqing did not like Morongyu, and they still had a chance. However, while they heaved a sigh of relief, Morongyu's heart sank. If Zhao Jiqing left like this, he would not have a chance to see Zhao Jiqing again. Therefore, he took a step forward, looked at Zhao Jiqing's graceful back, and said in a deep voice, "Pillar of Heaven's Mountain." Hearing those 3 words in that familiar voice, Zhao Jiqing's body couldn't help but tremble. Pillar of Heaven's Mountain was the Pillar of Heaven's Mountain outside in Yi City, the capital of the great Xia dynasty in the mortal world. Back then, Morongyu had obtained the Hichu Luoshu in Pillar of Heaven's Mountain. Pillar of Heaven's Mountain could be said to be the turning point of Morongyu's fate. Moreover, it was a place that both he and Zhao Jiqing were familiar with. On Wudong Mountain, Morongyu did not dare to reveal his identity. After all, although he did not notice any powerhouses monitoring him. However, as long as he revealed the slightest flaw in his speech, his identity would be exposed. Therefore, Morongyu did not directly send a voice transmission to Zhao Jiqing, nor did he mention the names of himself, Yu Mingqing, Morong Xian, and any other relatives. He did not even mention the name of the cultivation world. The Phoenix clan might know all of these. However, if it was just an ordinary mountain in the mortal world, the Phoenix clan would not know. Who knew how many mountains in this world were called Pillar of Heaven's Mountain? Of course, if Morongyu did not hesitate to reveal his identity, he could directly say that he was Morongyu. However, in that case, he would be thrown out or even killed by the Phoenix clan. Naturally, the Dragon clan would not be polite to him. Morongyu didn't want to leave with his tail between his legs after just one glance at Zhao Jiqing. Moreover, he did not want to give up his physical body. His physical body was still very useful, and he had other arrangements. You were the golden giant dragon of the Dragon clan, right? It just so happens that my bloodline is also very high. Why don't we have a chat? Maybe we'll promote our cultivation. Zhao Jiqing returned to normal in an instant. She turned around and said coldly to Morongyu, then turned and left. Morongyu was overjoyed. He knew that Zhao Jiqing had recognized him. Therefore, he strode out and walked towards Snow Qing Peak. However, the others were stunned, including those on Snow Qing Peak. All along, Zhao Jiqing had an ice-cold appearance, an appearance that kept people away. He didn't even say a few words to outsiders, let alone invite someone to Snowy Clear Peak. At that moment, Morongyu heard the sound of many hearts shattering. However, it was impossible for these guys to pursue Zhao Jiqing. It's over. Saintess Shui Qing can't have taken a liking to this bastard from the Dragon clan, right? Everyone's hearts were shattered. They all looked at Morongyu's back with hatred and gnashed their teeth. Perhaps it's really because this bastard is a golden giant dragon. Some people comforted themselves. However, they also knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. Since Saintess Shui Qing had personally invited him up the mountain, the people on Snow Qing Peak naturally did not dare to stop him. However, these people's expressions were not good. They all thought that Morongyu was a toad lusting after a swan's meat. In their hearts, only the peerless geniuses of the Phoenix clan were worthy of Morongyu. The two of them have entered the main hall. Seeing Morongyu enter the main hall with Zhao Jiqing, the faces of the people on Snow Qing Peak turned extremely ugly. The place called Clear Snow Hall was where Zhao Jiqing usually cultivated, and no one was allowed to set foot in it. Those followers of Zhao Jiqing didn't even have the qualifications to take half a step inside, let alone others. Immediately, a stream of information flew out from Snowy Clear Peak. That bastard from the Dragon clan not only went up Snow Qing Peak, but he also entered Snow Qing Hall. After Morongyu entered Snow Qing Peak, a youth on Wutong Mountain's heaven-shocking peak snorted with a gloomy expression. Violent and sharp killing intent shot out from his body, causing ripples in the air around him. He was the peerless genius of the Phoenix clan's younger generation, Feng Jing Tian. He was young, but extremely powerful. He had already reached the first level of primal chaos ancestor sage. At the same time, on Star Wave Peak not far from him, Feng Xingbo, who was also a peerless genius of the Phoenix clan, looked at a talisman in his hand. The talisman contained the news that Murong Yu had entered Snowqing Hall. Other than them, many people in the Phoenix clan also received the news. They were all Zhao Jiqing's pursuers. Most of them were at the level of geniuses. Who are you? After entering Snowqing Hall, Zhao Jiqing turned around and set up a few restrictions in the hall before shouting at Murong Yu. Murong Yu could sense that the countless formations and restrictions in this place had been activated. Outsiders shouldn't be able to spy on everything in the hall. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. Murong Yu didn't answer directly. Instead, he transmitted his voice. Is this hall safe? It's safe. Even primal chaos ancestor sage can't spy on it. Zhao Jiqing still looked coldly at Murong Yu. Hearing that, Murong Yu inwardly breathed a sigh of relief as a smile appeared on his face. Don't you know who I am? As he spoke, Murong Yu revealed the aura of his original body. His original body even appeared in front of his clone and looked at Zhao Jiqing with a smile. A familiar appearance, a familiar smile, a familiar gaze, and a familiar soul aura. At this moment, Zhao Jiqing no longer had any doubts. With a sway of her body, she turned into a streak of light and threw herself into Murong Yu's embrace. Murong! Zhao Jiqing was so excited that her body trembled. Murong Yu also hugged Zhao Jiqing tightly. At the same time, their figures blurred and the two of them disappeared from where they stood. However, after he disappeared, his clone didn't disappear with him. Moreover, other than his identity outside the hall, Zhao Jiqing's power clone was also left behind by her. Chapter 1518. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. This phrase was extremely apt to describe Murong Yu and Zhao Jiqing. After Murong Yu and Zhao Jiqing left the snowy, clear palace, the two of them were entangled together. In fact, Murong Yu even sped up time so that the two of them could spend even more time together. Afterwards, Zhao Jiqing snuggled up in Murong Yu's arms and asked, Murong, how did you get together with the dragon race? You even entered the Phoenix race? Murong Yu smiled and told her how he entered the immortal tomb and how he refined his clone. Of course, Murong Yu didn't mention the dangerous situation. After all, it was all in the past. Telling her would only make Zhao Jiqing more worried. But who was Zhao Jiqing? She knew Murong Yu very well. Although Murong Yu spoke of it very casually, she knew that the process was full of danger. Murong, don't take such risks in the future. You have to remember that you're not alone now. If something bad happens, what do you want us to do? Murong Yu kissed Zhao Jiqing and said with a smile, Don't worry, it's not like you don't know me. I cherish life very much. On the other hand, you have a lot of suitors and they're stronger than me. Murong Yu's original body was only in the Empyrean Saint Realm. Even his clone was only in the Empyrean Saint Realm. However, Zhao Jiqing was already in the Empyrean Saint Realm. The speed at which his cultivation rose was truly frightening. It had already surpassed Murong Yu's. Zhao Jiqing rolled her eyes. Are you jealous? Murong Yu laughed. You're my woman. Why would I be jealous? Murong Yu wasn't jealous. He trusted Zhao Jiqing just as Zhao Jiqing trusted him. He was just curious about Zhao Jiqing's cultivation speed. Of course, he was a bit depressed, but more than that, he was happy. Everyone around him was stronger than him. If they were stronger than him, he would be very happy. My bloodline purity is extremely close to the Phoenix race's ancestor, and the power on Wudong Mountain is very suitable for the Phoenix race to cultivate. Plus, I've cultivated some secret methods of the Phoenix race, so my cultivation speed is faster. Murong Yu nodded. When he entered Wudong Mountain, he felt that the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi was different even in the Phoenix race's territory. Similar to the Dragon race's world, The heaven-earth chi here was more special and suitable for the phoenix race to cultivate. Bloodline extremely close to the phoenix race's ancestor. It seems that the Phoenix clan member we met in the Ocean of Death wasn't an ordinary one. Murong Yu's eyes flickered. One had to know that Zhao Jiqing had a pure human bloodline like him. After encountering the Phoenix race in the Dead Sea, Zhao Jiqing obtained the Phoenix race's inheritance and had the Phoenix race's bloodline. That Phoenix race senior must be very close to the Phoenix race's ancestor, Zhao Jiqing said in a deep voice. Of course, it wasn't that she didn't suspect that the Phoenix race expert was the Phoenix race's ancestor, but that was impossible. Murong, back then, I obtained the Phoenix race's inheritance. Didn't you obtain the Black Dragon's inheritance? Originally, the Black Dragon's inheritance could only be accepted by the Dragon race. Now that your clone is from the Dragon race, you should be able to accept the Black Dragon's inheritance. The Black Dragon and the Phoenix race's senior are definitely not ordinary people. Murong Yu's heart skipped a beat. If Zhao Jiqing didn't mention it, he wouldn't have remembered. However, Murong Yu had originally planned to give the Black Dragon's inheritance to the true dragon that had evolved from a dragon beast to cultivate. However, for some reason, that guy was still in a deep slumber. If it wasn't for the fact that he could still sense that guy's life force, Murong Yu would have thought that guy was already dead. The Black Dragon and the Phoenix race expert had confronted each other for countless years before both of them perished together. That Phoenix race was so powerful, so the Black Dragon definitely wasn't an ordinary person. If Murong Yu could obtain the Black Dragon's inheritance, he would definitely be very powerful. He had seen the terror of the Pink Death. However, although the Black Dragon's inheritance was tempting, Murong Yu didn't cultivate it immediately. It wasn't easy for him to meet Zhao Jiqing, so he wanted to spend more time with Zhao Jiqing. Of course, if they were in the Holy World, Murong Yu wouldn't be able to spend much time with Zhao Jiqing right now. However, in Hichu Luoshu, due to the acceleration of time, Murong Yu had lost several hundred years of Zhao Jiqing's time. Although time passed in extremely fast speed, it had still been a few hundred years. Moreover, although Murong Yu wanted to continue spending time with Zhao Jiqing, someone didn't allow it. Long Romu, get down here. At this time, a furious roar came from the bottom of Snowy Peak all the way to the top. There were probably experts from the Phoenix race who weren't happy with Murong Yu. After all, Murong Yu had already been in Snowy Clear Hall for half a day. Long Romu, this name. Zhao Jiqing rolled her eyes at Murong Yu. She felt that Murong Yu was really good at coming up with names. Murong Yu frowned slightly. He hated people who disturb him the most. Before leaving Hichu Luoshu, Murong Yu asked Zhao Jiqing with a smile, "These people from the Phoenix race, it shouldn't be a problem to beat them up, right?" Zhao Jiqing nodded as a cold light flashed through her eyes. These so-called geniuses from the Phoenix race are really annoying. If it weren't for my identity, I would have taught them a lesson. You're from the dragon race now, so it shouldn't be a problem to teach them a lesson. However, don't kill them. You have to be careful. A few of them have reached the primal chaos ancestor Saint Realm. However, they probably won't do anything, Zhao Jiqing warned in the end. Murong Yu nodded and released Zhao Jiqing from Hichu Luoshu. He was still in Hichu Luoshu. Hichu Luoshu turned into an invisible speck of dust and attached itself to his clone. Let's go out and take a look. Murong Yu's clone, which would be replaced by Murong's dragon from now on, said coldly. He pushed open the door of Snowy Clear Hall and strode out. Long Romu, get down here. That voice was still shouting, arrogant and unbridled. Standing on Snowy Clear Peak, Murong Yu's gaze swept across the layers of void and finally stopped on a young man in green clothes. This person is the grandson of an elder from the Phoenix race. His name is Feng Fei, and his cultivation is at the ancestor Saint Realm. He's very arrogant and relies on his grandfather's power to do whatever he wants in the Phoenix race. He's very annoying. When Murong Yu saw Feng Fei, Zhao Jiqing's voice rang in his ears. However, Zhao Jiqing did not appear. After all, it was not appropriate for them to be too close on the surface. So it's a spoiled brat. Murong Yu smiled disdainfully. Murong Yu, get down here. I want to fight you. Feng Fei's face darkened when he saw Murong Yu. His killing intent was overflowing as he shouted, I'll wait for you here. Come up here if you can. Murong Yu crossed his arms and looked at Feng Fei indifferently. Feng Fei was stunned. A cold, killing intent flashed across his eyes. He also wanted to go to Snowy Clear Peak and take Zhao Jiqing as his woman. However, he did not dare to go to Snowy Clear Peak. Even if his grandfather was an elder, so what? As long as he dared to take half a step on his Snowy Clear Peak, he would be suppressed by the powerhouses there. He had been suppressed once before. With Zhao Jiqing's current talent, cultivation speed, and status, who would not dare to give her face other than the Phoenix race's clan leader or a few grand elders. She was a strong contender for the position of clan leader. Once she became the clan leader of the Phoenix race, those who offended her could only wait for death. You don't even dare to go to Snowy Clear Peak. How dare you challenge me with your trash appearance? Murong Yu laughed and scolded disdainfully. Feng Fei was furious. He wanted to slap Murong Yu to death. However, he did not dare to do it on Snowy Clear Peak. If he did, he would not have a good time. Bastard! Feng Fei was about to die from anger. However, there was nothing he could do if Murong Yu did not want to come down. He could not force Murong Yu to come down on Snowy Clear Peak. Moreover, Murong Yu was a powerhouse from the Dragon race and a guest of the Phoenix race. Long Rong Mu, do you dare to fight me? Accept my challenge? Feng Fei was not willing to give up and shouted again. You want to challenge me? A chaos ancestral artifact. Murong Yu laughed. He loved challenges. Of course, the prerequisite was that there was something that moved him. A chaos ancestral artifact. This guy's asking for too much. Many people below Snowy Clear Peak could not help but feel depressed when they heard Murong Yu's words. All right, I agree. Feng Fei gritted his teeth. He only had one chaos ancestral artifact, and it was a chaos ancestral artifact that had recognized its master. However, he decided to take it out to teach Murong Yu a lesson. Moreover, he did not think that Murong Yu had the ability to take it away from him. Therefore, he did not ask Murong Yu to take out a chaos ancestral artifact. Saintess Snowy Clear, please be the notary. Murong Yu turned to Zhao Jiqing and cupped his fist. He winked as he spoke. Zhao Jiqing nodded. She believed in Murong Yu. Moreover, only with her, as the notary, could Feng Fei's chaos ancestral artifact be handed over to Murong Yu after he was defeated. Feng Fei snorted and threw the chaos ancestral artifact that had recognized its master to Zhao Jiqing. At the same time, he looked coldly at Murong Yu. Murong Yu did not say anything. He took a step forward and left Snowy Clear Peak, appearing not far away from Feng Fei. Long Murong Yu, are you ready? Feng Fei looked coldly at Murong Yu, killing intent flashing between his eyebrows. He decided to teach Murong Yu a lesson and let him know that Zhao Jiqing was not someone he could touch. Here, let me thank you for your chaos ancestral artifact. Murong Yu nodded and said at the same time. Big words. Feng Fei roared and took a step forward. His fist was invincible. It shattered the void and blasted towards Murong Yu's head. The strength of a peak ancestor saint. A glint flashed across Murong Yu's eyes. With a single thought, he transformed into his true form. After an earth-shattering dragon roar, Murong Yu's claw tore through space and time and grabbed at Feng Fei's fist. Chapter 1519. Murong Yu's clone had reached the Chaos Realm before it was refined into a clone. Moreover, it was at least a 7th-level Chaos Ancestor Saint or even higher. Feng Fei was strong and had reached the Ancestor Saint realm at a young age. As a member of the Phoenix clan, Feng Fei's physical body was naturally extremely strong. But how could it compare to Murong Yu? Crack! After a crisp crack, Feng Fei's fist was clawed into a bloody mist by Murong Yu's claw. Feng Fei was both shocked and enraged. With a single thought, he retreated in an attempt to avoid Murong Yu's next attack. However, Murong Yu had already attacked with all his might. So how could he avoid it? The void shattered. In a split second, Murong Yu's dragon claw had already grabbed Feng Fei's chest. A violent force was about to erupt, trying to destroy Feng Fei's body. However, Feng Fei was an ancestor saint after all. Although he was a spoiled brat, his strength was still considered strong. Just as Murong Yu's dragon claw was about to touch his body, rumble, after an earth-shattering explosion, a large ball of flames swept out in all directions with Feng Fei's body as the center. At the same time, an extremely terrifying force erupted, intimidating the myriad worlds. Screech! After an ear-piercing shriek, an enormous phoenix appeared in front of everyone. The true form of the Dragon Clan was a divine dragon, and the true form of the Phoenix Clan was naturally a phoenix. Just like the Dragon Clan had many races, the Phoenix Clan had more than one race. It was obvious that Feng Fei was a phoenix of the fire attribute. Streams of phoenix sacred fire kept bursting out of his body, burning the surrounding space. What strength! He's probably at the peak of the ancestor's saint realm. The experts of the Phoenix Clan and other races around Murong Yu and Feng Fei were forced back a few steps by Feng Fei's powerful aura. With a single thought, the incomparably enormous phoenix sacred fire, capable of incinerating all things, rapidly enveloped Murong Yu's dragon claw and Murong Yu. Humph! Murong Yu snorted coldly. Without any obstruction, his dragon claws grabbed Feng Fei's body. Bang! After the earth-shattering explosion, Feng Fei let out a miserable cry. Then, everyone saw Murong Yu pull out a large piece of flesh from Feng Fei's body. White bones were exposed. Murong Yu only managed to grab Feng Fei's abdomen because his body had grown bigger. At this moment, the surrounding people could even see Feng Fei's internal organs. It was a ghastly sight. Moreover, this was only the beginning. A powerful force burst out from Murong Yu's dragon claw and sent Feng Fei flying. The Phoenix race is only SOSO. Murong Yu coldly snorted and swung his tail in the sky. Boom! The loud noise was followed by Feng Fei's scream. Feng Fei's physical body was directly destroyed by Murong Yu's divine dragon swings its tail. Feng Fei didn't even have time to react. Seeing this scene, many of the surrounding phoenixes couldn't help but frown slightly. They naturally didn't like Feng Fei, this spoiled brat. However, Murong Yu defeating Feng Fei was one thing, but he also stepped on the phoenix race. This made them even more displeased. However, this was what Murong Yu did on purpose. The dragon race and the phoenix race were just one of the sacred races. It was best to provoke them to start a war. Anyway, he wasn't from the dragon race. The relationship between the two races really had nothing to do with him. Little bastard, how dare you destroy my physical body? You're dead meat. You're dead meat. Because his soul wasn't injured, Feng Fei quickly recovered his physical body. However, he was extremely furious at this moment. He shouted ferociously and pounced on Murong Yu again. Murong Yu's face immediately darkened. He attacked again and suppressed Feng Fei. Although Feng Fei was powerful, he was far inferior to Murong Yu. After all, Murong Yu's physical body was too powerful. He once again destroyed Feng Fei's physical body. And this time, Murong Yu's dragon claws directly grabbed Feng Fei's soul. Little bastard, my grandfather is an elder of the Phoenix race. How dare you destroy my physical body? You're dead meat. You're dead meat. Even if Murong Yu grabbed his soul, Feng Fei still insulted Murong Yu as a little bastard. Murong Yu's face immediately darkened, and a sharp, killing intent flashed between his brows. Apologize immediately or die. Murong Yu's voice was as cold as 10,000-year-old ice. Feeling Murong Yu's extremely cold, killing intent, Feng Fei's soul couldn't help but shiver. However, he quickly came to his senses and continued to sneer. He didn't think Murong Yu would kill him. Otherwise, Murong Yu didn't want to live anymore. I'll give you 10 breaths of time. Murong Yu's voice was still cold, but his killing intent was getting sharper. 10. Murong Yu began to count down. Little bastard, you won't dare to kill me even if you have the guts. Feng Fei was not afraid at all and continued to insult Murong Yu. 2. There's still one more breath of time. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a strong, dangerous aura. At this moment, Feng Fei's heart was also enveloped by an extremely strong aura of death. However, he still didn't believe that Murong would dare to kill him. 1. Time's up, you can die. Murong eyes were filled with killing intent. As he shouted coldly, he clenched his dragon claws. At this moment, feeling the strong aura of death, Feng Fei was finally frightened. Don't kill me, I don't want to die. Feng Fei shouted in horror. If he still had a physical body at this time, he would have wet his pants. Umph. Murong snorted coldly, but did not stop. An extremely powerful force was still slowly suppressing Feng Fei's soul. It was just that the speed was many times slower than before. Don't kill me. I'll give you another chaos ancestral artifact. Please spare me. Feng Fei was so scared that he wet his pants. He took the initiative to beg for mercy and added a saint artifact as a bargaining chip. Is your life only worth 2 chaos ancestral artifacts? Murong sneered, but his attack had stopped. He still didn't release Feng Fei's soul. Feng Fei was furious. His life was naturally worth more than 2 chaos ancestral artifacts. In his opinion, his life was priceless. However, 2 chaos ancestral artifacts was his limit. Chaos ancestral artifacts were not common goods. How could he have so many? If it were someone else, even a chaos ancestor saint might not have a chaos ancestor saint. If he didn't have a good grandfather, he wouldn't have a chaos ancestral artifact at all. Moreover, this time he still had to beg his grandfather for a second chaos ancestral artifact. However, compared to his life, giving up 2 chaos ancestral artifacts might be painful, but he believed his grandfather would still give it up. Do you admit defeat? Murong Dan smiled as he looked at Feng Fei's soul. However, in Feng Fei's eyes, his smile was extremely dangerous. I admit defeat. Feng Fei was finally frightened and directly admitted defeat. Remember, don't go near Holy Maiden Xueqing in the future. She's not someone trash like you can get close to. Don't even think about hitting on her, got it? Otherwise, I'll beat you up every time I see you. Murong voice was cold as ice. As he spoke, he swept a glance at the surrounding people, his gaze filled with a strong sense of threat. Everyone felt a chill, but there were still some who didn't care. It was true that Murong was powerful, but he was still from the Dragon Clan, not the Phoenix Clan. This was the Phoenix Clan. I know, I won't hit on Holy Maiden Xueqing anymore. Feng Fei had no dignity left. He would do whatever Murong said. After all, he still cherished his life. Very good. Murong nodded and released Feng Fei's soul. At the same time, he looked at the crowd with a smile. In the future, anyone who wants to pursue Holy Maiden Xueqing will have to go through me. As long as you defeat me, you can pursue Holy Maiden Xueqing. However, the prerequisite is that you can't surpass me by an entire realm. Chaos Ancestor Sage is welcome to challenge me, but you'll have to suppress your strength to Ancestor Sage or Holy King realm. However, please prepare a Chaos Ancestral artifact before you challenge me. Otherwise, I have reason not to accept your challenge. Suppressing his strength to Ancestor Sage or Holy King realm. Seeing Murong use terrifying strength, everyone couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Wasn't challenging Murong like that just looking for a beating? Murong, you're only a dragon, not a phoenix. You have no right to do this. Holy Maiden Xueqing is the holy maiden of our Phoenix tribe. A Phoenix tribe ancestor took a step forward and roared at Murong angrily. Murong looked coolly at this person, then turned to Zhao Jiqing on Xueqing Peak. Holy Maiden Xueqing, do I have the right? Zhao Jiqing immediately nodded. It's over. Seeing Zhao Jiqing nod, everyone's hearts sank. They weren't even as strong as Feng Fei. Challenging Murong? There was no way they could defeat Murong. If they couldn't defeat Murong, then they wouldn't even have a right to pursue Zhao Jiqing. Could it be that Holy Maiden Xueqing has taken a liking to that bastard Long Rongmu? This thought appeared in many people's minds. Thus, they all looked at Murong with even more dangerous gazes. However, what they didn't know was that Zhao Jiqing was Murong's wife. Even if Murong didn't do this, they wouldn't stand a chance. Yu only did this because he didn't want these flies around Zhao's hiking. All right, disperse. I'll be waiting for your challenges on Shueqing Peak for the next few years. Everyone, remember to prepare the primal chaos ancestral artifact. Yu said, then walked up Shueqing Peak without looking back. That bastard. If he leaves Wudong Mountain, I'll definitely kill him. Seeing how Yu acted as if he had returned home, the Phoenix Tribe experts were furious and filled with murderous intent. Yu, on the other hand, didn't pay any attention to these people. He was just waiting for others to challenge him. No, it should be said that they were going to give him the primal chaos ancestral artifact. Yu didn't know that something big was happening in the human territory of the Holy World. Chapter 1520. Yu possessed the Hichu Luoshu. Not only could the Hichu Luoshu speed up time, but it could also teleport to any location. It was a supreme treasure that surpassed even sovereign weapons. Yu also possessed the chaotic celestial body. The chaotic celestial body was the strongest body in the world. With the chaotic celestial body, one could surpass autarchs and even sovereigns. One could control the primal chaos and become a chaos controller. Overnight, the entire human race, and even the entire holy world, heard the news. No one knew who had spread it. In the beginning, the people who heard the news were only half believing and half doubting. They didn't doubt that the Hichu Luoshu could speed up time. After all, treasures that could speed up time were rare in the holy world, but there were still some. As for teleportation, they didn't believe it. Teleportation arrays could be used because there was a teleportation array between two locations. Only then could one teleport to a fixed location. But how could the Hichu Luoshu be used for teleportation? In truth, the Hichu Luoshu was the same as a teleportation array. It could only teleport to a location with a teleportation point. Moreover, the Hichu Luoshu itself was equivalent to a mobile teleportation point. But there were too many experts in the holy world, and they possessed all kinds of abilities. Soon, someone confirmed that the Hichu Luoshu could indeed be used for teleportation. In truth, it wasn't confirmed. It was just that they researched Yu's past and verified it. If it wasn't for teleportation, how could Yu suddenly disappear and reappear so far away? No wonder Yu's strength has increased so much. No wonder his whereabouts were so secretive, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. He actually has the Hichu Luoshu. If I can get my hands on the Hichu Luoshu, my strength will definitely double. Many people began to think about the Hichu Luoshu. Actually, this was only a secondary matter. The holy world was even more interested in Yu's chaotic celestial body. The primal chaos celestial body surpasses the autarchs, surpasses the sovereigns, and becomes the master of primal chaos. If I could possess the chaos celestial body, wouldn't I be able to become a chaos controller? What autarch? What sovereign? They're all just fleeting clouds. As a cultivator, who wouldn't want to reach the pinnacle of strength? Originally, they'd thought that being a ruler was the pinnacle of power. But now, he knew that sovereigns were nothing more than ants in front of the chaos master. He must find Yu. Even if he couldn't possess the celestial chaos, he could at least snatch his Hichu Luoshu. For a moment, countless people searched for Yu in the Saints' world. During this process, the relationship between Yu and Shenzhen was also exposed. However, because Yu Mengqing and the others were very low-key, no one discovered them and Shenzhen's existence for a short period of time. However, the organizations in the Saints' world were just too powerful. If they searched with all their might, it would only be a matter of time before they discovered Yu Mengqing and the others. The Saints' world, within the territory of the human race, in an independent space. Numerous phantoms exuding powerful auras stood in this space. Each of them was extremely powerful, at least at the 7th level of the Ancestor Sage realm. There were at least several hundred of them. The chaos celestial body has reappeared in the world, and it has already reached the profound sage realm. Everyone, what do you think? One of the phantoms suddenly said. The voice was ethereal, echoing throughout the entire space, making it impossible to tell who was speaking. Seize the Hichu, Luo and possess the chaos celestial body. Before the first expert could finish speaking, a second expert coldly said. Everyone fell silent. What's wrong? Are you afraid? This isn't the first time. If we don't take action and allow Murong Yu to grow, we'll be the ones to die. The second expert continued coldly. He's not Zhao Yun's reincarnation, so he doesn't have Zhao Yun's memories. Even if he wants to avenge Zhao Yun, he has to act within his means. Although we're strong enough to roam the saints' world unhindered, it's not like you don't know how powerful the chaos celestial body is. If we can successfully possess the chaos celestial body, we'll surpass autarchs, surpass sovereigns, and control everything. The second expert continued. As he spoke, a light flashed between his brows. If we're going to take action, we'll do it before Murong Yu matures. Don't forget how terrifying the chaos celestial body is. How many of us died the last time? If it weren't for the autarchs secretly taking action, we would have all been killed by Zhao Yun. Autarchs had taken action. No wonder Hichu hadn't told Murong Yu who Zhao Yun's enemies were. There were autarchs. With Murong Yu's current strength, ordinary ancestor sages wouldn't be a problem. However, if he couldn't kill a primal chaos ancestor sage, it would be even more impossible to kill autarchs. If we're going to take action, we'll do it ourselves. There's no need to join forces with those autarchs. Although autarchs are powerful, they aren't invincible. There are sovereigns above them. Even if they're all autarchs, there's still a difference in strength. They're also eyeing the chaos celestial body covetously. Not to mention autarchs, even sovereigns are eyeing it covetously. Sovereigns absolutely won't have anyone above them. That's why we need to plan carefully and try to kill Murong Yu. At the same time, the experts of the Yao clan and Sacred clan had also received the news and gathered together to discuss how to deal with Murong Yu. In an instant, Murong Yu's danger skyrocketed by millions of times, although he'd already made the entire world his enemy. Back then, the primal chaos ancestor sages hadn't made a move. Now, however, those peerless experts, even autarchs and sovereigns, might make a move. Still, Murong Yu, who was in the Phoenix clan, didn't know about any of this. Murong. On this day, Zhao Jiqing rushed into the main hall. Murong Yu's clone, who was receiving the Black Dragon's inheritance, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Zhao Jiqing. Jiqing, did another challenger come to deliver the primal chaos ancestral artifact? There's no need to worry, even if it's a primal chaos ancestor sage expert. Murong Yu comforted with a smile when he saw Zhao Jiqing's worried expression. With his cultivation suppressed to the primal chaos ancestor sage realm, Murong Yu really didn't fear any primal chaos ancestor sage expert. Zhao Jiqing hurriedly shook her head. That's not it. News of Hichu Luo and the chaos celestial body has already spread throughout the sacred world. Now, many people are discussing how to kill you and seize your body. What? Murong Yu's clone jumped up from the ground. If it was just Hichu Luo that was exposed, then so be it. Autarchs and sovereigns wouldn't make a move. When the time came, Murong Yu wouldn't be afraid, even if a primal chaos ancestor sage expert made a move. But the chaos celestial body, it was an existence that even sovereigns couldn't tolerate. Sovereigns would definitely make a move. Sovereigns would dominate the entire sacred world. Although Murong Yu hadn't seen sovereigns' abilities before, he could imagine how terrifying their strength was. He was the master of the immortal world and God world, the master of both worlds. As long as he wanted to, he could know everything that happened in the God world and immortal world with a single thought. Even if it was just an ant, he could find it. Sovereigns should also have the ability to find him in the sacred world. Do you know who spread the news? Murong Yu's face was ashen. Once a sovereign or sovereign expert made a move, he would die without a doubt. There would be no escape. Zhao Jiqing hurriedly shook her head. The news had spread throughout the sacred world in a single night. It was impossible to find out who had leaked it in a short amount of time. Morong, this matter is extremely strange. There aren't many people who know about the Hichu Luoshu and your special constitution. We definitely wouldn't have spread the news. Morong nodded. Apart from a few people close to him, no one else knew about his special constitution. He believed that they wouldn't have leaked it, but who had done it? Moreover, if there wasn't a powerful faction spreading the news, it wouldn't have spread throughout the sacred world in a single night. Just who did it? Morong Yu's face was ashen. Chilling, killing intent flashed through his brows. Seizing the Hichu Luoshu had nothing to do with possessing the body. They could just attack Morong Yu directly. However, if this news were spread, it would force Morong Yu into a dead end. Apart from Morong Yu, everyone close to him would be in grave danger. If they weren't careful, Yu Mengqing, Murong Xian, and even the entire Shenzhen might be annihilated. They wanted to capture Morong Yu in one fell swoop. Jiqing, my original body has to leave this place. Morong Yu pondered for a moment before saying. Originally, he planned to stay in the Phoenix clan for a few years to accompany Zhao Jiqing. Although his clone was also Morong Yu, it was still just a clone and not his original body. Morong Yu didn't plan to leave at the same time as his clone was from the Dragon Clan. Morong Yu planned to sneak into the Dragon Clan's world. If anything happened in the future, Morong Yu would have a place to stay. Although Zhao Jiqing was reluctant, she knew that it was an emergency now. Morong Yu had to deal with some things. Immediately, Morong Yu teleported and left the Phoenix clan. Originally, he had vowed to teleport back to Bronze Martial City. However, halfway there, he felt something strange in the Hitu and the Luo Shu. Hichu, what's going on? Morong Yu appeared in human territory and didn't leave Hichu, Luo Shu. He directly found Hichu inside and asked, "Do you still remember the heavenly punishment token?" Hichu appeared in front of Morong Yu with a gloomy expression. Morong Yu nodded. The heavenly punishment token was a super treasure created by the sovereign. It had its own space inside. The most important thing was that it allowed Morong Yu to distinguish between good and bad people, killing evil people to obtain star points to increase one's strength. However, because it was a treasure created by the sovereign, Morong Yu had long abandoned it. He had been suppressing it in the depths of Hichu Luo Shu. Chapter 1521. Although Morong Yu had sealed the heavenly punishment writ in the depths of the Hichu Luo Shu, it was now acting strangely. When Morong Yu arrived at the place where the heavenly punishment order was being suppressed, he saw the heavenly punishment order emitting rainbow-colored holy light. An incomparably powerful aura erupted from the heavenly punishment writ and soared into the sky. Bang! 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 The heavenly punishment writ trembled constantly, wanting to break free from Morong Yu's seal and escape. If it weren't for the fact that this was the Hichu Luo Shu and the fact that the Hichu Luo Shu was of a much higher level than the heavenly punishment writ, Morong Yu wouldn't have been able to suppress the writ with his own strength. How long has the heavenly punishment writ been like this? Morong Yu's expression was incomparably gloomy. An ominous feeling enveloped his heart. Just a few days ago, Morong Yu's expression darkened even further. A few days ago was when news of Morong Yu's chaotic celestial body had spread throughout the holy world. As such, Morong Yu didn't need to guess to know why the heavenly punishment writ was acting strangely. The sovereign must have heard the rumors and activated the heavenly punishment writ to locate Morong Yu. If Morong Yu had been using the heavenly punishment writ, or if the heavenly punishment writ was on Morong Yu's body, the sovereign would have been able to locate him long ago. Not only had the heavenly punishment writ been suppressed in the Hichu Luo Shu, but it had also been cut off from the outside world. Thus, even the sovereign couldn't locate Morong Yu. However, the heavenly punishment writ was a supreme treasure personally created by the sovereign. It was impossible to completely sever its connection with him. In fact, Morong Yu guessed that if this continued, even the Hichu Luo Shu wouldn't be able to suppress the heavenly punishment writ. It wasn't that the Hichu Luoshu wasn't strong enough, but rather that Murong Yu wasn't strong enough. However, as a ruler, did the heavens need to use the heavenly punishment token to locate him? Murong Yu controlled both the immortal world and the god world. With just a thought, nothing in the god world or the immortal world could escape his eyes. Although heaven is known as the ruler, it shouldn't be able to control the sacred world. After all, the saint world was just too big, and there were too many experts. It was hard to control. Even if heaven took control of the sacred world, it would still be a huge burden on him. He can't control the god world and immortal world like you can, Hichu said. If the heavens had already taken control of the sacred world, there was no need for the Heaven Wrath Order. He could wipe out all life in the holy world with a single thought, so there was no need for him to create a heavenly punishment order. Murong Yu felt slightly relieved. He guessed that this should be the case. However, this was just a guess. He had to be careful in the future. Otherwise, if he was discovered by the sovereign, he would definitely die. I can't keep the heavenly punishment writ on me anymore. Murong Yu pondered for a moment. The moment Hichu Luoshu couldn't suppress the heavenly punishment order, it would escape. The moment the heavenly punishment order left the He-Tu and Luoshu, the heavens would sense Murong Yu's location. With his strength, he could definitely appear by Murong Yu's side before Murong Yu left. If that happened, he would die without a doubt. However, Murong Yu didn't want to let go of the heavenly punishment order with him. After all, the heavenly punishment order's abilities were somewhat heaven-defying. If his enemies got a hold of it, Murong Yu would be in for a tragedy. He could only suppress the heavenly punishment order somewhere. Murong Yu fell into deep thought. The heavenly punishment order was very powerful. Where could he suppress it? Moreover, if it left Hichu Luoshu, Murong Yu wouldn't be able to suppress it. Hichu, can the sovereign enter the god realm or the immortal realm? Murong Yu's heart stirred. He asked Hichu, there are laws between heaven and earth. You are the master of the god realm and the immortal realm. You have absolute control over both worlds. Those from the holy realm can't enter the god realm. Even if the primal chaos ancestor sage did, his strength will be suppressed to an extremely low level. He wouldn't be your match at all. However, the sovereign is too powerful. Perhaps he can enter the god realm, or perhaps his strength won't be suppressed. Murong Yu's face grew increasingly gloomy. However, given your control over the god realm, you should know if someone enters, Hichu added. Murong Yu nodded. After a moment of thought, he said in a low voice, I want to suppress the heavenly punishment order in the god realm and use the power of the god realm to suppress it. If the sovereign tries to force it, I can only give up on the heavenly punishment order. In the next moment, Murong Yu's figure blurred and disappeared. He originally wanted to return to Copper Marshall City, but now he appeared in the god realm. Suppress the heavenly punishment order for me. In Hichu Luoshu, Murong Yu ignited his primal chaos saint bloodline and used his powerful strength to suppress the heavenly punishment order. Then, Murong Yu moved the heavenly punishment order out of Hichu Luoshu and suppressed it in a remote mountain range in the god realm. With 40% of the god realm's origin energy, I should be able to completely suppress the heavenly punishment order. Murong Yu's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at the heavenly punishment order suppressed in the depths of the god realm. After using 40% of the god realm's origin energy to suppress it, the heavenly punishment order finally stopped trembling. Moreover, it was in the god realm. If it was in the holy realm, Murong Yu wouldn't be able to suppress it at all. Just as Murong Yu completely suppressed the heavenly punishment order, a cold snort sounded from somewhere in the void. Large swaths of the void shattered. However, even so, the spatial turbulence didn't appear. The power contained in the cold snort was so strong that it suppressed the spatial turbulence. In the next moment, a tall illusory figure appeared in the void. After the figure appeared, large swaths of the void around him shattered. An incomparably terrifying aura was emitted from this expert's body, intimidating thousands of worlds. However, this figure was like a shadow, and it was impossible to see his appearance clearly. The heavenly punishment order has been completely suppressed? Oomph. If it wasn't for the fact that my original body is outside and can't come back, I would have suppressed you directly. The figure snorted coldly, and the space suddenly became cold. Heavenly punishment order. Outside. If Morongyu was here, he would definitely be shocked. This person was definitely the ruler of the holy realm. Heaven. Only he could sense the heavenly punishment order and fight outside at the same time. However, what was he outside? Even the ruler of heaven was fighting outside and couldn't return to the holy realm. Hichu Luo Shu, the chaotic celestial body. If I can obtain the chaotic celestial body, my strength will definitely rise to a new level. A cold light flashed through the eyes of heaven's incarnation, doppelganger, or divine consciousness. I hope those idiots don't ruin my plans. Otherwise, they will all die. Heaven snorted coldly. The ruler's strength was very strong, but Heaven knew that there was still someone stronger than him, the Chaos Controller. Only by becoming the master of primal chaos would one be truly the strongest and invincible. He had known about the existence of the chaotic celestial body a long time ago. Therefore, he had been waiting for an opportunity to possess the chaotic celestial body. However, who was he? He was a ruler. Even if he wasn't a soul saint, his soul was still extremely powerful. The physical body of an ordinary peak, primal, chaos, ancestor, sage, expert couldn't bear his soul. Before the chaotic celestial body matured, it couldn't bear his soul. Therefore, he could only wait until the chaotic celestial body matured completely before he could possess it. However, he wasn't the only one who knew about the chaotic celestial body. Those people weren't as strong as him, so they had long since made their move on the chaotic celestial body. As a result, the chaotic celestial body continued to fall. Before Morongyu, Zhao Yun had been the strongest of the chaotic celestial bodies. He was also the one most suited for heaven's possession. However, Zhao Yun had been besieged and self-destructed. At the time, heaven had still been fighting in the outer realm. When he learned of this, he was furious. At that time, his fury had nearly set the entire sacred world ablaze. He didn't know why he hadn't killed the experts who had besieged Zhao Yun. However, he had later divined Murongyu's existence. Under his control, the heavenly punishment writ had appeared by Murongyu's side. The heavenly punishment writ had several functions by Murongyu's side. One was to protect Murongyu's safety and help Morongyu increase his cultivation. The other was to keep an eye on Morongyu. Because heaven hadn't been in the sacred world, and Morongyu hadn't completely sealed the connection between him and the heavenly punishment writ, he hadn't been able to keep an eye on Morongyu. However, he knew that Morongyu was always safe. Originally, he wanted to wait for Morongyu to grow stronger before making his move. However, news of Murongyu's chaotic celestial body had already spread. Even his connection with the heavenly punishment writ had been severed. If you ruin my plans, you'll all die. Heaven roared in his heart. If he hadn't divined Murongyu's reincarnation, he would have long since destroyed the sacred world. Given his strength, destroying the sacred world wasn't difficult at all. Morongyu, I hope you won't disappoint me. The sovereign of heaven's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Then his incomparably large body slowly faded away until he vanished. If Morongyu were to hear heaven's words, wouldn't he burst into tears? Heaven wasn't concerned about him. Instead, he hoped that he could grow stronger and be possessed by heaven. It's time to return to the sacred world. After suppressing the heavenly punishment writ, Morongyu didn't linger in the god world. He directly teleported back to the sacred world and appeared near Bronze Martial City. As soon as Morongyu appeared in Bronze Martial City, he saw that the originally incomparably majestic Bronze Martial City had already been destroyed. There wasn't a single person in the city. However, there were quite a few people outside the city. Murongyu's expression changed drastically. His incomparably vast divine sense seeped out of his body and enveloped the entire area. However, as his divine sense expanded, his expression grew uglier and uglier. This was because he didn't discover Yu Mengqing and the others at all. In fact, Shangzhen's base in the sacred world had been completely uprooted. Not a single one of Shangzhen's people was left. Chapter 1522. They were all caught in one fell swoop. Murong Yu's face instantly turned gloomy, and endless killing intent burst forth. However, Murong Yu wasn't too worried or afraid because Yu Mengqing and the other soul jade slips hadn't shattered. In other words, although they had disappeared from Bronze Martial City, they hadn't died. They must have left Bronze Martial City ahead of time. It was also possible that they had been captured. In total, it had only been a few days. These people were too fast. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. No matter who it was, anyone who dared to touch his people must die. Brother, what's going on? How did Bronze Martial City get destroyed? Murong Yu suppressed his killing intent and acted like a normal person. He came to the side of a young man and asked politely, "Brother, are you from outside?" The young man looked at Murong Yu curiously. Without waiting for Murong Yu's reply, he continued, "Although Bronze Martial City is a lawless place, for some reason, the Holy Kingdom of Nine sent out many peerless experts and destroyed Bronze Martial City a few days ago. They killed many experts and captured many people." The Holy Kingdom of Nine? Murong Yu's face instantly turned gloomy. Yes, it is said that someone in Bronze Martial City plotted a rebellion and was killed by the Holy Kingdom of Nine. Some of the more important people were captured. It is unknown whether they are dead or alive. Moreover, I heard that a sect called Shangzhen was also destroyed. The more he heard, the more gloomy Murong Yu's face became. The killing intent in his heart grew stronger. "Thank you." Murong Yu thanked him and disappeared in a flash. It was actually the Holy Kingdom of Nine that did it. Moreover, it was before the news of Murong Yu's chaotic celestial body spread. Murong Yu guessed that the destruction of Bronze Martial City had nothing to do with the news that had spread in the past few days. Murong Yu entered the Hichu, Luoshu, and thought, as he teleported, could it be that the plan to devour the Holy Kingdom of Nine was discovered? Murong Yu's original plan was to let the Shangzhen slowly devour the Holy Kingdom of Nine. Then, he would use this opportunity to rise and slowly form his own great force. However, there hadn't been any abnormalities in this aspect, and everything had been normal. Why was it suddenly discovered? Could it be that someone betrayed him? It was impossible for the Shangzhen's people to betray Murong Yu. Murong Yu was certain of the loyalty of those who had ascended before him. As for the others, their souls were under Murong Yu's control. It was even more impossible for them to betray him. There must have been a loophole somewhere, and this matter was leaked. Murong Yu thought thought's heart. Holy Kingdom capital city's capital city. Yu Mengqing, Mu Liue, Sidu Xian, and Kurlan were locked up in a prison at the same time. Although their powers were sealed, they didn't seem to be tortured or anything. Their situation was still acceptable. However, Guo Huanming and the others in the other prison cell were in a more miserable state. His powers were sealed, and he was even tortured and interrogated. Now, they were beyond recognition. It was too horrible to look at. TSK, these beauties are indeed peerlessly beautiful. It would be great if I could enjoy them. A prison guard looked at Yu Mengqing and the others with a lustful look in his eyes. Bang! Before he could finish his sentence, a huge slap sent the undead prison guard flying. Bastard, if you want to die, don't drag us down with you. You can't touch these women. Otherwise, 9 generations of your family will be implicated. The one who spoke was a small prison guard. He was the one who sent the prison guard flying. What a waste. The prison guard got up and looked at Yu Mengqing and the others with some reluctance. His eyes flickered, and no one knew what he was thinking. Watch carefully. The small prison guard glared at the prison guard and left. What are you looking at? The prison guard was depressed. He couldn't touch Yu Mengqing and the others. Therefore, when he saw Yu Mengqing and the others looking over, he roared angrily. Lan Kier was infuriated. If not for the fact that her powers were sealed, she would have definitely killed this prison guard. This bastard was always staring at them, and it made them very unhappy. Sisters, what's the problem? Muliue retracted her gaze and whispered to the others. They had always been puzzled about this matter. Originally, they were living well near Bronze Martial City. However, the experts of the Holy Kingdom of Nine descended from the sky and quickly took control of them, Guohuanming and the others. They even attacked Shenzhen immediately. However, Yu Mengqing and the others were confused about all this. They only knew that their plan to invade the Holy Kingdom of Nine was exposed. This time, our Shenzhen suffered heavy losses. I'm afraid hundreds of thousands of Shenzhen disciples were killed. Situ Xian frowned and said with killing intent, Murong built an ascension platform on Bronze Martial Mountain for the Divine World's Shenzhen disciples to ascend. However, the Holy World Shenzhen was protected by a grand array. Moreover, the Holy World Shenzhen was connected to the Divine World Shenzhen through a teleportation array. Therefore, although Shenzhen was attacked, a large number of Shenzhen disciples were sent back to the Divine World through the teleportation array. In the end, the Holy World Shenzhen suffered very few casualties. Before the Grand Array was breached, most of the people were sent back to the Holy World. However, not all of Shenzhen's disciples were in Shenzhen. Many people were hiding in Bronze Martial City, as well as several other cities. Perhaps some of them managed to escape, but most of them were killed by the Nine Saint Nation with lightning speed. Only Yu Mengqing and the others were not killed. Instead, they were imprisoned. The Holy Kingdom of Nine doesn't dare to touch us. They seem to be afraid of something. Could it be that they know about our husband? Kurlan said with a frown. The others shook their heads. After pondering for a while, Yu Mengqing said, Our husband is a disciple of the Spaceless Tao. If the Holy Kingdom of Nine knows about his identity, they won't dare to touch us, let alone kill our Shenzhen disciples. Perhaps they don't know about our husband's identity. Should we inform our husband? The girls looked at each other. They could inform Murongyu. However, their things were in their storage rings, and the Holy Kingdom of Nine had already plundered their storage rings. Now, they only had the saint artifacts and treasures that had recognized them as their masters. If they wanted to inform Murongyu, how would they do it? Murongyu had originally controlled the Soul Sage, Na Huarong, but Na Huarong was not here. Otherwise, they would have informed Murongyu long ago. Although Guohuanming and Tangning were here, their powers were sealed, and they were beaten half to death. There was no way they could inform Murongyu. I believe that our husband will definitely save us, Situ Xian said confidently. The other girls nodded. They also believed that Murongyu could find them. However, where was Murongyu now? Holy Kingdom of Nine, capital city, palace. Your Majesty, those conspirators have been captured. There are still some remaining ones that we are trying to capture. I believe that we will be able to capture them all in one fell swoop. In the main hall, the Holy Kingdom of Nine Yin's ruler, Nine Yin Saint Master, sat on the throne. The two sides of the hall were filled with the civil and military officials of the Holy Kingdom of Nine Yin. Each of them was powerful, and most of them were experts in the Ancestor Saint realm. Although the Holy Kingdom was powerful, as long as one reached the Ancestor Saint realm, one could establish a Holy Kingdom. Although the Holy Kingdom of Nine Yin was not at the bottom of the Holy Kingdoms, it was not that powerful. There were only a few Ancestor Saints in the chaos. My beloved minister, what do you think of the news that has been spreading in the Holy World? Nine Yin Saint Master glanced at everyone and asked in a low voice. Many of the officials of the Holy Kingdom of Nine Yin were shocked. One of them could not help but ask, Your Majesty, do we have to take action as well? Although Murongyu's chaotic celestial body is tempting, those super forces and even the people from the 10 great saint lands will take action. I'm afraid we won't be able to do it. Nine Yin Saint Master shook his head. He also wanted to possess the chaotic celestial body, but he knew his limits. Even if he killed Murongyu, the chaotic celestial body would not belong to him. Murongyu, don't you think that name is very familiar? Nine Yin Saint Master said in a low voice. Murongyu, a peerless genius in refining weapons and elixirs. He betrayed the true martial temple and joined the Infernal Society. He is now a disciple of the Infernal Society. One of the officials recounted Murong Yu's deeds. The leader of those conspirators is also called Murong Yu. One of the officials suddenly said. His expression was very ugly. Hearing that, everyone's heart skipped a beat. If it was really Murong Yu, the holy kingdom of Nine Een would definitely be destroyed. Although Murong Yu was the enemy of the entire world, he was powerful enough. Moreover, he was a disciple of the Infernal Society. The Infernal Society only needed to say a word to destroy the holy kingdom of Nine Een. They shouldn't be the same person, right? Someone said hesitantly. However, they were also very nervous. What if it was really the same person? Your Majesty, we have to investigate clearly. Moreover, even if it is Murong Yu, so what? We have already done this and completely offended Murong Yu. Now that he is the enemy of the entire world, why would he dare to appear here? Your Majesty, if Murong Yu really dares to appear here, we will go all out and kill him. At that time, we will possess his body and obtain the Hichu Luo Shu. Our holy kingdom of Nine Een will definitely rise and become the strongest holy kingdom. We might even surpass the 10 great sanctuaries. One of the officials stepped out and said in a low voice. Another official stepped out and said, Your Majesty, we have to plan carefully. It is said that not only can the Hichu Luo Shu teleport, but it also has its own world. As long as we kill Murong Yu, even the 10 great sanctuaries won't be able to do anything to us. The officials of the Holy Kingdom of Nine Een looked at the Holy Kingdom of Nine Een with burning eyes. They said in unison that they wanted to kill Murong Yu. The Nine Een Saint Master frowned and muttered to himself. After a long time, he finally made up his mind. Chapter 1523. Although the Nine Een Holy Empire wasn't very powerful, they still had a few primal chaos ancestor saints, especially the Nine Een Holy Master, whose strength had reached the 4th stage primal chaos ancestor saint. He was extremely powerful. In the holy world, he could be considered a major force. After the decision was made, a primal chaos ancestor saint expert was sent to the prison. They were all clear about Murong Yu's character. If this Murong Yu was really the Murong Yu, they believed that he would definitely come. Murong Yu was indeed powerful, but how could he be a match for a primal chaos ancestor saint? The moment he appeared, the primal chaos ancestor saint expert of the Nine Een Holy Empire would immediately take down Murong Yu. As long as they took down Murong Yu, seized his Hichu Luo Shu, and possessed the celestial chaos celestial, would the Infernal Society still stand up for a dead person? Even if others wouldn't let the Nine Een Holy Empire go and wanted to seize the treasures, the Nine Een Holy Empire wasn't afraid. At most, they could just move everyone into the Hichu Luo Shu. When the celestial chaos celestial was completed, they could kill their way out and dominate the world. Of course, this was the Nine Een Holy Empire's beautiful plan. As for whether it would succeed or not, it was still unknown. At this time, Murong Yu had already arrived at the capital of the Nine Een Holy Empire. The news of Copper Marshall City's destruction had already spread far and wide. However, they only knew what had happened on the surface. The relationship between Yu Mengqing and Murong Yu hadn't been leaked out. Otherwise, the Nine Een Holy Empire's experts wouldn't be the only ones in the capital. At this time, there would probably be countless experts swarming over. Yu Mengqing and the others might have been imprisoned by stronger forces. Who didn't want to obtain Murong Yu's Celestial Chaos, Celestial, and Hichu Luo Shu? They're all locked up in the prison. Without any effort, Murong Yu found out about Yu Mengqing and the others. What made him heave a sigh of relief was that Yu Mengqing and the others were only imprisoned in the prison. However, Murong Yu also knew about the casualties of Shenzhen in this incident. Hundreds of thousands of Shenzhen's disciples. Among them, some had even reached the undying realm. These disciples who had ascended were not only peerless geniuses, but they were also loyal to Murong Yu. The casualties were too many, The Nine Saint Nation originally wanted to slowly nibble away at us. But now you dare to kill hundreds of thousands of our glory sect disciples? Very holy empire. Very good. Morong, you sneered. The killing intent radiating from his body was about to materialize. Right now, he had the urge to destroy the Nine Saint Nation. However, this wasn't the best time yet. I have to rescue Meng Qing and the others as soon as possible. Otherwise, once news of my relationship with them spreads, it'll be difficult to rescue them. Murong Yu thought to himself as he walked toward the prison. Heavenly gods, leave immediately, or I'll kill you on the spot. The prison was the most heavily guarded place in the holy empire of Nine. It was where the important people were imprisoned. It was heavily guarded. Before Murong Yu even got close, he could already feel countless powerful divine wills sweeping over him. A sinister aura spread out from the prison. Murong Yu pretended to be a passerby and walked over. However, before he could get close to the prison, he was blocked by a few armored and murderous soldiers. My lords, I'm a foreigner. I see that the building in front of me is extremely majestic and would like to take a look around. Is that not possible? Murong Yu hurriedly said politely. However, as he spoke, his divine wills had already passed by these people and extended into the prison. The entire heavenly prison was enveloped by countless formations and restrictions. There were also many arrays and restrictions that blocked out divine wills. Murong Yu had no choice but to come here. However, what made Murong Yu gloomy was that the prison's entrance was still protected by a formation and restriction that isolated his divine sense. This made him feel a little depressed. His divine wills couldn't enter the prison at all. There was no way he could confirm whether Yu Mengqing and the others were imprisoned in the prison. Leave immediately, or we'll kill you. One of the soldiers roared as he unsheathed his saber with a clang. It shone with a cold light and a murderous aura. A cold light flashed past Murong Yu's eyes. If he wasn't worried about alerting the primal chaos ancestor sage experts in the holy empire of Nine, he would have killed them all with a single punch. I can only go in and take a look. Murong Yu felt helpless and left immediately. When night fell, Murong Yu unfolded his body, concealed himself in the void, and walked into the prison. The entire prison was like an inverted basin that was placed on the ground, and there was only one entrance. Even if the restrictions and arrays couldn't stop Murong Yu couldn't enter the prison, unless he broke the prison's walls. However, that would definitely alarm a lot of people. As a result, Murong Yu swaggered through the entrance of the prison, which wasn't filled with formations and restrictions. What a powerful aura. There's a primal chaos ancestor sage here. As soon as he stepped into the prison, Murong Yu's heart was enveloped by an extremely strong sense of danger. When Murong Yu stepped into the prison, a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged in the depths of the prison suddenly opened his eyes. Instantly, his burning gaze seemed to see through billions of space-time and countless voids as he looked at the prison's entrance. At the same time, even more divine wills swept over like an ocean. Just now, he felt that someone had touched his spiritual will. No one. Was it an illusion? The primal chaos ancestor sage couldn't see anyone, and his divine wills couldn't find anyone either. In fact, he didn't even see any fluctuations in the void. Was it really an illusion? The primal chaos ancestor sage was puzzled as he continued to scan with his enormous divine wills. However, he still didn't find anything. Therefore, he retracted his gaze. However, his divine wills still enveloped the entire prison. Murong Yu, who was hiding motionlessly in the void, was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. If it wasn't for his quick reaction and his improved stealth ability, he would have been discovered just now. When the primal chaos ancestor sage's divine wills swept over, Murong Yu used the time and space rules to freeze the space-time around him. Moreover, he guided the opponent's divine wills to other voids, which was why he wasn't discovered. I have to be careful. Otherwise, Meng Qing and the others will be in danger if I alarm this expert. Muronyu muttered to himself as he slowly walked into the depths of the prison. Although the prison was another space, it was as big as the capital city of the Nine Holy Nation. However, if it was any other time, it wouldn't be much of a distance for Muronyu. But now this small prison was like a boundless world. This was because Muronyu was moving too slowly. Although he was invisible, the primal chaos ancestor sage didn't discover Muronyu. However, if Muronyu moved too quickly, he would cause fluctuations in space. Even the slightest fluctuation would be discovered by that peerless expert. It was the same even if Muronyu entered the Hichu Luo Shu. Unless he didn't move. This was because Muronyu's spatial ability had become much stronger, so the fluctuations in space were extremely weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare move at all. Based on this speed, when will I reach the depths of the prison? Muronyu was a little anxious. It had been a few days since the news of him being a chaotic celestial body had leaked out. He believed that others would soon discover his relationship with Yu Mengqing. When that time came, a large number of experts would swarm over, and Muronyu wouldn't be able to rescue Yu Mengqing and the others. What a coincidence! Swoosh! In the capital of the Nine Saint Nation, an expert shot over from afar and landed in the city. Powerful fluctuations of power erupted from his body. The primal chaos ancestor sage. The moment this expert appeared, the Nine Saint Lord and the rest of the primal chaos ancestor sage sensed it. They opened their eyes and looked through billions of miles of time and space to see who it was. This is the Nine Saint Nation. Is this where Muronyu's women are imprisoned? The primal chaos ancestral saint expert snorted coldly. He glanced left and right, then walked straight toward the imperial palace of the Nine Saint Nation. He didn't attack directly, but walked toward the palace instead. It was obvious that this person was from a major faction. I hope the Nine Saint Nation knows what's good for them and hands them over. Otherwise, the primal chaos ancestor sage sneered inwardly. Muronyu was slowly walking toward the depths of the prison. However, a few prison guards walked in from outside and barged straight at Muronyu. Although Muronyu was invisible, it didn't mean that he was a mass of air. It was just that the naked eye and divine consciousness couldn't see him. He was still real. If they bumped into him, those people would definitely notice. If Muronyu wanted to dodge, the fluctuations of the void around him would be very strong. Then, the primal chaos ancestor sage would notice him. Muronyu furrowed his brows as he grew nervous. However, he couldn't do anything at the moment. He could only turn around and look at the prison guards. I got it. Muronyu suddenly had an idea, but he didn't do anything out of the ordinary. The prison guard in front of him was about to crash into him. At that moment, Muronyu suddenly entered Hichu Luo Shu. Then, Hichu Luo Shu quickly turned into a speck of dust and attached itself to the prison guard. I wasn't discovered. After a while, Muronyu finally let out a sigh of relief. The primal chaos ancestor sage didn't notice him. After all, the prison guards had caused a lot of spatial fluctuations when they'd walked over. Naturally, the spatial fluctuations caused by Muronyu entering Hichu Luo Shu didn't attract the primal chaos ancestor sage's attention. The primal chaos ancestor sage didn't understand Muronyu and didn't expect Muronyu to have such an ability. Thus, Muronyu attached himself to the primal chaos ancestor sage's body and walked toward the depths of the prison. This speed was much faster than him walking slowly in the void alone. Before long, Muronyu reached the depths of the prison and saw Yu Mengqing and the others locked up in their cells. However, Muronyu's heart abruptly sank. Chapter 1524. In the prison, Yu Mengqing and the other three women were all in the same cell. At this moment, they were all sitting cross-legged in the room in silence. At a glance, the four women were not being tortured to extort a confession, so they should not be suffering. In the other cell, Tongning and Guohuanming were in a miserable state. Their clothes were tattered, and their auras were weak. Their entire bodies had been beaten to a pulp. They lay on the ground, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Although the two of them were severely injured, it was nothing in Murong Yu's eyes. With his current level of life force, he could easily heal the injuries of the two of them. Of course, the premise was that he could save them. Damn it, Murong Yu cursed. With a thought, the Hichu Luo Shu turned into particles and gently fell from the prison guard's body, finally landing on the ground. Most of the cells here were empty. Only Yu Mengqing, Tongning, and the others were locked up. On the surface, there were only the 6 of them. However, Murong Yu knew that the primal chaos ancestor sage of the holy nation of 9 Yin was hiding in the cell where Yu Mengqing and the others were. With the primal chaos ancestor sage's strength, Yu Mengqing and the others did not notice at all. If it were not for Murong Yu's acute senses of space and time, as well as his own, he probably would not have noticed the existence of this peerless powerhouse. This was going to be difficult. In the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu's expression was extremely gloomy. Using the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu could take Yu Mengqing and the others into the Hichu Luo Shu in 1/100th of an instant. However, he could not take Tongning and Guo Huanming into the Hichu Luo Shu at the same time. Moreover, the primal chaos ancestor sage was not to be trifled with. When Murong Yu made his move, he would definitely notice. Moreover, Murong Yu did not know if the primal chaos ancestor sage would expect him to be the one to rescue them. If he knew that he was Murong Yu, he would definitely seal this space or make it unstable. As a result, Murong Yu would not be able to enter Hichu Luo Shu. Even if he didn't come out of Hichu Luo Shu, Hichu Luo Shu wouldn't be able to teleport directly. Damned Holy Empire of 9 Yin. In the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu's killing intense sword. He couldn't wait to annihilate the Holy Empire of 9 Yin. But right now, his strength was still lacking, and it wasn't just by a little bit. We can only kill him. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold, killing intent. If he didn't kill this primal chaos ancestor sage, Murong Yu wouldn't have a chance to attack. However, it would be extremely difficult to kill the primal chaos ancestor. Only a sneak attack would have a slight chance of success. I'm currently at Ancient Saint level 1. If I refine the primal chaos ancestor weapons that I obtained previously, I should be able to reach Ancient Saint level 2. By then, I'll have a higher chance of killing him. Murong Yu thought to himself. As soon as he thought of doing it, Murong Yu started to burn the primal chaos Saint Meridian in Hichu Luo Shu. Time started to accelerate. At the same time, he swallowed the primal chaos ancestor weapons that he obtained from defeating the genius disciples of the Phoenix tribe and started to refine them in the primal chaos furnace. Just as Murong Yu was about to break through, the Holy Master of 9 Yin received an uninvited guest in the palace of the Holy Empire of 9 Yin. Although the Holy Master of 9 Yin was displeased, he still met the expert in the main hall. This was because he couldn't afford to offend the expert. Holy Master of 9 Yin, I hope that you will consider handing over Murong Yu's men to the Purple Flame sect. Otherwise, the Holy Empire of 9 Yin will have to bear the wrath of the Purple Flame sect. Qianghua sat on the chair and looked at the Holy Master of 9 Yin indifferently. Only an expert of his level would dare to look at the Holy Master of 9 Yin in such a manner. After all, the Holy Master of 9 Yin was the ruler of the Holy Empire of 9 Yin. His abilities had reached the level of a rank 4 chaotic ancestor saint. A threat. Red? A blatant threat. The Holy Master of 9 Yin and the remaining chaotic ancestor saints of the Holy Empire of 9 Yin turned gloomy. Their eyes shone with a dangerous light. However, there was nothing they could do. If Qianghua was just an ordinary chaotic ancestor saint, he would have been killed by the Holy Master of 9 Yin with a slap. However, Qianghua was one of the elders of the Purple Flame sect. The Holy Empire of 9 Yin was powerful, but there were many forces that they didn't dare to offend. The Purple Flame sect was one of the forces that they didn't dare to offend. Although the Purple Flame sect was much weaker than the Heaven Suppressing sect and other forces. However, the Purple Flame sect had more than 10 chaotic ancestor saints. Although the Holy Empire of 9 Yin was powerful, they only had 4 or 5 chaotic ancestor saints. The gap between them and the Purple Flame sect was too big. Elder Chi, you must be joking. Since when did the Holy Empire of Nine Een have Murong Yu's men? The Holy Master of Nine Een would never admit that Yu Mengqing and the others were Murong Yu's men. Once he handed Yu Mengqing and the others over to the Purple Flame sect, not only would he not be able to threaten Murong Yu and obtain the chaotic celestial body, but he would also have to bear the wrath of Murong Yu. It wasn't worth it. The smile on Qi Yanghua's face froze. His face turned gloomy. Holy Master of Nine Een, let's not play dumb. Yu Mengqing and Tang Ning are Murong Yu's women and subordinates. The Holy Empire of Nine Een only captured them a few days ago. Don't try to fool me. I'll give you 2 hours to bring them to me. Otherwise, there's no need for the Holy Empire of Nine Een to exist. This isn't a negotiation. It's a request from the Purple Flame sect. The Holy Master of Nine Een and the few chaotic ancestral saints from the Holy Empire of Nine Yin's faces turned gloomy. A terrifying aura of danger flashed between their brows. With their strength, they could definitely kill Qi Yanghua in the blink of an eye. However, they would have to bear the wrath of the Purple Flame sect. Moreover, if they didn't hand Yu Mengqing and the others over, they would have to bear the wrath of the Purple Flame sect as well. Holy Master, I think we should hand Yu Mengqing and the others over. I reckon the people from the 10 sanctuaries are going to take action. It's only a matter of time before the news of us capturing Murong Yu's women is leaked out. By then, more super forces will come looking for us. Rather than bear the wrath of the super forces, why don't we direct their anger to the Purple Flame sect? Although the Purple Flame sect is powerful, there's still a huge gap between them and the super forces. Humph, if they suppress us, they'll be suppressed by other forces tomorrow. The few chaotic ancestral saints from the Holy Empire of Nine Een said to the Holy Master of Nine Een. Rumble. Under the effect of time acceleration, the flow of time was extremely fast. Finally, after refining a few chaotic ancestral artifacts, Murong Yu successfully broke through from the first level of the Ancient Saint Realm to the second level of the Ancient Saint Realm. His strength increased exponentially once again. However, his soul did not increase in strength. After his breakthrough, Murong Yu did not attack immediately. Instead, he chose to consolidate his strength. At the same time, he also cultivated other battle skills and cultivation techniques. After a long time, Murong Yu finally consolidated his strength. Although the 9 syllables mantra did not break through, it was still much stronger. I can make my move now. It's a pity that I can't use the Heavenly Purple Tower. Through the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu looked at the chaotic ancestral saint hidden in the prison cell. With his current strength, although he could not activate the full power of the Heavenly Purple Tower, if he launched a sneak attack, he would definitely be able to severely injure the chaotic ancestral Saint Realm expert who was only at the first level. If he launched a sneak attack with a soul attack, he would definitely be able to kill this peerless expert. However, the Heavenly Purple Tower's power was too terrifying. If he used it, even Yu Mengqing and the others would be killed. Therefore, Murong Yu could not use the Heavenly Purple Tower. He could only rely on his soul power. I wonder if the Pink Morning will be effective? Murong Yu suddenly wondered. The Pink Morning was one of the Black Dragon's ultimate techniques. It was not orthodox and was more sinister. However, its effects were not bad. Let's give it a try. Murong Yu's heart stirred. Immediately, the Pink Morning slowly flowed out of the Hichu Luo Shu. The Pink Morning seems to have become stronger. I wonder how effective it is. Murong Yu had not used the Pink Morning in a long time. This time, he discovered that it was much stronger. Moreover, Murong Yu also discovered that the Pink Morning that was previously pale pink had become colorless and odorless. Ordinary people would not be able to notice it. In this way, it would be easier to carry out sneak attacks. In a short while, the Pink Morning had covered the entire area where Murong Yu was. However, under Murong Yu's control, Yu Mengqing, Tongning, and the others were not invaded by the Pink Morning. Almost all of the pink morning had entered the primal chaos ancestor sage's body. Silently, even if he did not breathe, the pink morning would enter his body and eventually invade his soul. The most terrifying thing was that the person who had been hit by the pink morning had no idea what was going on. The peerless powerhouse hidden in the void suddenly opened his eyes. Just now, desire had appeared in his heart, and that desire was growing stronger by the moment. What's going on? The primal chaos ancestor sage was not a lecherous person. He did not like women, but he suddenly felt a strong desire. It's working. Seeing this, Murong Yu was overjoyed. Thus, the pink morning that was even more intense surged toward the primal chaos ancestor sage like a torrent. Something like this had never happened before. The primal chaos ancestor sage was suspicious. He immediately activated his enormous divine consciousness that enveloped the entire prison, but he did not discover anything. Instead, the desire in his heart grew stronger. In fact, if the primal chaos ancestor sage did not know, his eyes were already red. The effect has become much stronger. Murong Yu was shocked. However, what was even more shocking was that behind the scenes. That was because he saw the primal chaos ancestor sage looking at Yu Mengqing and the others. Oh no, I miscalculated, Murong Yu exclaimed in his heart. At this moment, the primal chaos ancestor sage had already revealed himself. He reached out his hand and grabbed at Mu Liyue, Murong Yu's killing intense sword. How dare he have designs on his woman? Was he not courting death? Seeing the primal chaos ancestor sage suddenly appear and grab at Mu Liyue, Yu Mengqing and the others could not help but exclaim in shock. At this moment, Murong Yu finally made his move. Chapter 1525. Murong Yu had already prepared his soul attack. His immense soul power was raised to the maximum. When the primal chaos ancestor sage tried to grab Mu Liyue, he immediately unleashed the soul-devouring slash. Murong Yu had 3 soul attack techniques. They were the divine soul fist, the divine soul slash, and the divine soul annihilation. The divine soul annihilation was a group attack technique. The divine soul fist and the divine soul slash were single target attacks. The divine soul slash was countless times more powerful than the divine soul fist. At this moment, Murong Yu's soul had reached the 3rd star 4th heaven, and his soul pool had reached a size of 90,000 miles. Furthermore, the entire soul pool was full of soul power. At this moment, most of the soul power in the 90,000-mile soul pool had been condensed into a saber by Murong Yu. It slashed out from his soul space, shattering the void as it slashed towards the primal chaos ancestor sage's soul. With a swoosh, the saber condensed from Murong Yu's soul power had already appeared in front of the primal chaos ancestor sage's head. Perhaps it was because he had been eroded by the pink death. The primal chaos ancestor sage had yet to react. However, he was a peerless expert after all. His reaction was extremely fast. His perception of danger was even more terrifying. When Murong Yu's soul power condensed into a saber and slammed into his mind, he finally reacted. At this moment, his heart was suddenly enveloped by an extremely strong aura of death. At the same time, his soul began to tremble violently as it sensed danger. The primal chaos ancestor sage was horrified. Although he had yet to see his attacker, how could he not know that he was on the brink of death? Therefore, his large hand immediately stopped grabbing towards Mu Liyue. At the same time, the power in his body had been activated to the maximum. In less than an instant, it had already rushed into the soul space. So fast. At this moment, although Murong Yu's attack had already blasted into the primal chaos ancestor sage's soul space, it was stopped before it could hit his soul. Although Murong Yu was shocked by the primal chaos ancestor sage's frightening speed and power, he didn't stop at all. He continued to control the blade formed from his soul power and slashed it forward with the intent to destroy everything. Boom! Indeed, the primal chaos ancestor sage's reaction was extremely fast. Before Murong, you could attack his soul. He had blocked his attack. However, the power that had been gathered in a hurry was still not enough. Of course, Murong Yu's soul attack wouldn't be able to break through his defense if he used all his strength to defend. But wasn't this a sneak attack? The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage was caught off guard. Furthermore, the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage's soul had been corroded by the Pink Death. Therefore, the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage was in for a tragedy. Murong Yu's soul power condensed into a saber and slashed at the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage's soul. Even though the Primal Chaos Ancestor Saint's power had already filled his soul, he was still unable to do anything. However, the hastily enveloped power was simply unable to block Murong Yu's attack. The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage's power was immediately shattered by Murong Yu's saber. After the power was shattered, Murong Yu's soul blade only paused for a moment before it finally slashed at the Primal Chaos Ancestor's soul. The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage let out a shrill scream. His soul had been split into two by Murong Yu's saber. This was because he had reacted quickly and blocked Murong Yu's attack in time. Otherwise, his soul would have been shattered by Murong Yu. Who is it? Who attacked me? The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage didn't die immediately after his soul was shattered. However, the excruciating pain almost made him faint. But was it also because of the excruciating pain that he was filled with desire because of the Pink Death? Wang's soul also instantly woke up. Die! Murong Yu bellowed as he launched a second attack. Bastard, how dare you attack me? Pay me and I'll die. This time, the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage finally discovered where the attack came from. Therefore, he reached out his big hand and grabbed at the place where Murong Yu was hiding. At the same time, an incomparably violent power erupted from his body and formed a huge power shield on the surface of his body. At the same time, it dissipated in all directions. The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage couldn't care less when his life was threatened. His only thought now was to kill Murong Yu. As for Yu Mengqing and the others, no, Yu Mengqing and the others were gone. The Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage's heart skipped a beat. Not only was Yu Mengqing gone, but even Tang Ning and Gua Huanming had been taken into the Hichu Luo Shu by Murong Yu. In fact, Murong Yu had already planned this. Therefore, he had already taken Yu Mengqing and the others away when he attacked. However, what made Murong Yu depressed was that his attack, which was a sneak attack, couldn't kill the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage, even though the Pink Death had invaded his soul. There was still a big gap between his strength and the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sages. If he reached the Sage Ruler Realm, he could definitely kill the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage. Boom! Under the full power of the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage, the prison couldn't withstand his violent power at all. It was directly shattered. Instantly, a large number of people, including the prison guards and the others, died. At that moment, Murong Yu didn't teleport away. Instead, he continued to attack the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage from the Holy Nation of Nine. The Holy Nation of Nine had captured Yu Mengqing and the others and killed hundreds of thousands of Shenzhen's disciples. Murong Yu had already sentenced them to death. If not for his lack of strength, he would have smashed the capital city of the Holy Nation of Nine into pieces. If he could kill the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage, it would be equivalent to cutting off an arm of the Holy Nation of Nine. It would be of great help when he destroyed the entire Holy Nation of Nine in the future. What's going on? First, they heard the loud sound of the prison being destroyed. Then, they felt the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sage's violent power shoot up into the sky and cover the entire capital city. The Nine Saint Master and the others in the palace couldn't help but frown. Damn it, it's coming from the direction of the prison. The Nine Saint Master's face changed. Then, he disappeared from where he was. At the same time, the other Primal Chaos Ancestor Sages from the Holy Nation of Nine Yin's face changed, and they disappeared from the hall. Qianhua from the Purple Flame sect's face changed, and he had a bad feeling. Then, he disappeared from the hall. The capital city of the Holy Nation of Nine een was huge. However, it was nothing to experts like the 9 Saint Master. One step, and they would be able to cover more than that distance. B asterisk starred. Just as the 9 Saint Master and the others dashed out of the hall, there was another loud thud from the prison. At the same time, the 9 Saint Master and the others saw a huge figure falling from the sky. It was the primal chaos ancestor sage from the prison. This guy was really tragic. First, his soul was severely injured by Murong Yu's sneak attack. Then, he couldn't withstand Murong Yu's violent attacks. In the end, his soul was crushed and he was killed. A primal chaos ancestor sage was killed. The 9 Saint Master and the others looked grave. In a flash, they appeared on top of the big boss. Their enormous divine consciousness spread out and covered the entire capital city. Murong Yu's women are gone. We can't find them in the capital city either. The 9 Saint Master looked grave. B asterisk starred. Could it be that the Infernal Society had rescued them? A primal chaos ancestor sage from the holy nation of 9 said with a grave expression as he borrowed the body of the primal chaos ancestor sage. Hearing that, the 9 Saint Master and Qianghua from the Purple Flame sect changed their faces. If it was really the Infernal Society, they were nothing in front of the Infernal Society. It shouldn't be the Infernal Society. Could it be Murong Yu? He isn't that powerful. He can't kill the primal chaos ancestor sage. It's more likely that it's Murong Yu. He has the Hichu Luo Shu. After saving them, he can teleport away. That's why we didn't find any traces of them. Plus, I suspect that Murong Yu is the Soul Saint, Qianghua from the Purple Flame sect said. He had checked the dead primal chaos ancestor sage carefully and realized that his body wasn't damaged at all. However, his soul had been crushed. The Soul Saint. Everyone was shocked. The 9 Saint Master felt a chill in his heart, and there was fear in his eyes. Murong Yu was the Soul Saint. He wasn't afraid of him. What he was afraid of was the Infernal Society behind Murong Yu. Originally, he had planned to kill Murong Yu and run far away. That way, the Infernal Society wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, things were different now. Humph! Qianghua harumphed coldly and took a step forward. He turned into a flowing light and flew into the distance. His purpose of coming here was Yu Mengqing and the rest. Now that Yu Mengqing and the rest have been saved, he didn't have any leads on Murong Yu. What was the point of staying here? Saint Master, The other primal chaos ancestor sages looked at the 9 Saint Master worriedly. We'll talk when we get back. The 9 Saint Master's face turned gloomy and he turned to leave. Husband. In Hichu Luo Shu, Yu Mengqing and the rest exclaimed and pounced on Murong Yu. It's my fault. Murong Yu hugged the girls apologetically. At the same time, he used 2 streams of life force to treat Guo Huanming and Tang Ning. The 2 of them were severely injured. If they weren't treated in time, their lives would be in danger. Husband, our holy world Shenzhen is done for. Yu Mengqing's eyes turned red. I will make the 9 Saint Nation pay the price. All of you rest here first. I'll go out for a while. Murong Yu's eyes glowed coldly, and he was filled with killing intent. Husband, it's dangerous outside. The 4 girls quickly stopped Murong Yu. Murong Yu smiled faintly. I cherish my life. However, I won't go against them. I'm just going to collect some interest. Before he could finish his sentence, Murong Yu left Hichu Luo Shu and appeared in the capital city of the 9 Saint Nation. Chapter 1526. Murong Yu's ability to conceal himself was extremely powerful. Even the chaotic ancestor, Saint, who was in the same prison as him, didn't notice him. Of course, the chaotic ancestor, Saint, was only a rank 1 chaotic ancestor, Saint, while the 9 Saint Master was a rank 4 chaotic ancestor, Saint. There was a huge difference in their abilities. Hence, although Murong Yu was confident, he was still careful when he concealed himself. He didn't want to be discovered by the 9 Saint Master and be killed by him. The 9 Saint Master and the rest should be in the palace. Murong Yu floated in the sky above the capital of the 9 Saint country. He smirked as he looked at the bright lights that shot up from the palace. The lights were the power lights of experts. As the 9 Saint Master and the rest were frustrated, they didn't suppress their auras. Hence, it was easy for Muronyu to see through them. Of course, only Muronyu could see the power lights. The others couldn't see them. 4 chaotic ancestor saints. Muronyu creased his eyebrows and looked behind the 9 Saint Palace. Besides the 9 Saint Master and the other 3 experts, there was another expert hiding behind the palace. Although the person's aura was suppressed to the extreme, there was still some aura that leaked out. Who was Muronyu? His eyes had great control over space and time. He could roughly sense the other party's abilities through the ripples of space. The location of the primal chaos ancestor sage should be the location of the 9 Saint Master's treasury. Muronyu pondered for a moment before a cold smile appeared on his face. The 9 Saint country had killed so many of Shenzhen's men. What Muronyu wanted to do the most was to kill the 9 Saint Master and the rest with a slap. However, Muronyu wasn't powerful enough to kill the 9 Saint Master and the rest. However, he didn't want to leave just like that. He wanted to collect some interest first. In that case, emptying the treasury of the 9 Saint Master was undoubtedly the best option. It was considered as interest, and it could be used to compensate for Shenzhen's loss. Now, Muronyu was the enemy of the entire world. It was difficult for him to fend off the entire Saints world alone. It was time to strengthen Shenzhen's disciples. Muronyu immediately hid himself and avoided the peerless experts like Saint Master of 9. He slowly came to the back of the palace and appeared in front of a small pavilion. Looking from afar, there was nothing special about this pavilion. It was no different from the other buildings in the palace. Normal people would definitely not suspect that this was the treasury of the 9 Imperial Palace. However, Muronyu was almost certain that this was the treasury. This was because he saw layers upon layers of restrictions and formations enveloping the entire pavilion. Hundreds of millions. In addition, there was a peerless expert at the primal chaos ancestor, Saint Realm, hiding near the pavilion. His tremendous divine sense enveloped the entire pavilion. If he discovered any abnormalities, that peerless expert would act forcefully and annihilate everything. Poong Da's incomparable divine sense enveloped the entire pavilion, leaving no blind spots. Muronyu frowned slightly. In this way, the peerless expert would definitely discover Muronyu if he discovered anything. If Muronyu forced his way in, he would not have enough time to empty the treasury before they killed their way in. As Muronyu muttered to himself, he kept looking at the countless formations and restrictions in front of him. He suddenly realized that although the hidden primal chaos ancestor saint had enveloped the entire pavilion with his divine sense, his divine sense was only outside the formations and restrictions. In fact, this was normal. Those formations and restrictions were extremely powerful and sensitive. If the primal chaos ancestor saint's divine sense were to enter, it was very likely to trigger those formations and restrictions. By then, it would cause a chain reaction. I just need to pass through the primal chaos ancestor saint's divine sense, Muronyu muttered to himself, but he had already entered Hichu Luoshu. Hichu Luoshu transformed into an invisible particle and slowly flew toward the formations and restrictions. During this process, Muronyu became even more careful. He did not cause any void fluctuations at all. However, the speed at which he was advancing was too slow. The primal chaos ancestor, Saint's divine sense, could only cover a distance of about 1 mile. However, with Muronyu's current speed, it would probably take him 10 days to half a month to cross this distance. Suddenly, Muronyu felt the primal chaos ancestor Saint's divine sense retreat like attacks. Muronyu was shocked, not knowing if the primal chaos ancestor Saint had discovered him. However, he didn't hesitate to seize this opportunity and rushed over. Whoosh! Just as the particles of the He-2 and the Book of the Luo were about to come into contact with the endless formations and restrictions, Muronyu had already charged out of the He-2 and the Book of the Luo. Then, he charged into the endless formations and restrictions. Murongyu was a chaotic celestial body and had mastered spatial laws. These formations and restrictions had no effect on his physical body. However, if Hichu Luoshu rushed in, it would definitely activate these formations and restrictions. Before emptying the treasury, this was something Murongyu did not want to happen. After his main body entered the formations and restrictions, Murongyu walked straight to the pavilion as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Of course, he was still invisible. The pavilion also had a door, but because it was enveloped by hundreds of millions of formations and restrictions, it was just an ordinary door. Murongyu did not need to open it at all. He only needed to transform into a particle and enter the treasury through the gap in the door. Another space. After entering the treasury, a long corridor appeared in front of Murongyu. Doors appeared on both sides of the corridor. Elixir storehouse, saint weapon storehouse, treasure storehouse, as the treasury of a holy empire. This place was organized in an orderly manner. All kinds of treasures were stored in small vaults according to their categories. There were no formations or restrictions. Murongyu checked with his divine thought and did not find any traps, so he rushed into the elixir storehouse. Suddenly, an extremely rich elixir fragrance assailed his nostrils. There might be many low-level saint elixirs here, but there might also be high-level saint elixirs. However, Murongyu did not care so much. He took out Hichu Luoshu without looking. "Withdraw," Murongyu shouted in his heart. Suddenly, an extremely strong suction force gushed out from the Hichu Luoshu and covered everything in the elixir storehouse. Under the strong suction force, the items in the elixir storehouse turned into rays of light and rushed into the Hichu Luoshu. Not long after, the entire elixir storehouse was emptied. Not a single elixir was left. Then, Murongyu's body swayed and left the elixir storehouse. He appeared in the saint weapons storehouse at that moment, in the palace of the Nine-In Holy Empire. The Saint Master of Nine-In and a few ministers finally decided on a big matter. "Your Majesty, should we ask Murongyu for peace now? We'll need a large amount of treasures to appease Murongyu. Go to the treasury immediately and get the treasures. We must satisfy Murongyu. Otherwise, the Nine-In Holy Empire won't be able to bear the anger of the infernal affairs," the Saint Master of Nine-In said in a low voice. Now that Yu Mengqing and the rest have been rescued, they no longer had any bargaining chips. They had no choice. Then, the group of them flew toward the treasury. Very soon, they entered the treasury. Elixir storehouse. What's going on? Looking at the empty elixir storehouse, the Saint Master of Nine-In and the rest were shocked. This was the treasury of the Nine-In Holy Empire. If it wasn't a treasure, it definitely wouldn't be placed here. This was the accumulation of the Nine-In Holy Empire over countless years. The other treasury. The Saint Master of Nine-In and the rest were shocked. After a while, they reacted and disappeared from the spot. Very soon, they appeared in the Saint Weapon Storehouse. It was empty. There wasn't a single item. The Saint Master of Nine-In and the rest had a bad feeling. Then, they appeared in one treasury after another. However, without exception, every treasury was empty. B****, who is it? The Saint Master of Nine-Yin's face was gloomy and murderous. The rest of them didn't look good either, especially the chaotic ancestor, Saint, who was guarding the treasury. He was furious. No one suspected that the expert who was guarding the treasury was the one who had stolen it, because the expert was the previous Saint Master of the Nine-In Holy Empire. He was the father of the current Saint Master of Nine-In. It was impossible for him to do such a thing. Moreover, it was impossible for him to enter the treasury alone. "Saint Master," there are words there. While he was furious, a chaotic ancestor, Saint noticed a few lines of words floating at the back of the treasury. "The person who imprisoned me killed my disciple, Shengzhen. The treasury is only the interest. Saint Master of Nine-In, wash your necks and wait for me to take your heads. Murongyu." A chaotic ancestor, Saint read the words out loud. Murongyu. Originally, The Saint Master of Nine and the rest were furious. They couldn't wait to find the person who had stolen the treasury and kill him. However, when they saw the name Murong, they felt as though a bucket of cold water had been poured over their heads. Their raging anger was instantly extinguished. At that moment, how could they not know that it was Murong who had saved Yu Mengqing and the rest? Murong had killed the primal chaos ancestor sage and emptied their treasury without anyone noticing. His abilities were too terrifying. If he had assassinated them, the Saint Master of Nine and the rest couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. If Murong's abilities were already so terrifying, what about the rest of the Infernal Society? One should know that Murong is the weakest in the Infernal Society. Saint Master, did we do something wrong? A chaotic ancestor, Saint looked at the Saint Master of Nine and revealed a helpless and bitter smile. Perhaps we shouldn't have offended Murong. The Saint Master of Nine face turned gloomy and he felt extremely helpless. Now that Murong had made it clear that he would fight the Nine Holy Empire to the death, it was too late for them to regret. They could only fight against Murong and the Infernal Society to the end. However, they also knew that if the Infernal Society were to attack, the Nine Holy Empire would be destroyed in an instant. Chapter 1527. After emptying the treasury of the holy nation of Nine, Murong directly teleported out of the holy nation of Nine. If he stayed in the holy nation of Nine at this time, it would not be confidence, but foolishness. In the Hichu Luoshu, Tongning and Guo Huanming's injuries had already recovered. However, their powers were sealed by the primal chaos ancestor sage. Murong was unable to break the seal for the time being. However, it was only a matter of time. At this time, they were gathered together. In front of them were piles of treasures that were as big as mountains. Elixirs, saint artifacts, and other natural treasures, everything was there. These were the treasures that the holy nation of Nine had accumulated over countless years. Now, all of them had become Murong's personal belongings. Now, although Murong was only an ancient saint, his wealth was close to that of a holy nation. Moreover, he was not at the bottom of the holy nations. As for ordinary ancient saints, they did not even have an ancestral artifact. They could not be compared to Murong at all. Murong did not even blink when refining a primal chaos ancestral artifact, let alone an ancestral artifact. After all, he even had a supreme artifact. Moreover, a treasure like the Hichu Luoshu was much better than a supreme artifact. In terms of real wealth, even the top forces in the holy world could not compare to him. Just the Hichu Luoshu alone was a priceless treasure, not to mention the other treasures. Holy Lord, are these all the treasures of the holy nation of Nine? Looking at the piles of treasures in front of them and feeling the terrifying pressure from the treasures, Tongning and the others were excited. They could not help but be excited. When had they ever seen so many treasures? However, compared to Guo Huanming and Tongning's excitement, Yu Mengqing and the others were much calmer. After all, they had climbed up step by step from the lower realm. They had long been trained to be indifferent. These treasures seemed to be a lot, but they knew that these things were not even a fraction of what Murong had. So, there was nothing to be excited about. Take whatever treasures you fancy. However, you need to know your limits. Treasures that are too high level may not be suitable for you. On the contrary, you may end up in life-threatening situations. Murong warned. Holy Master, are we really free to choose? Although Murong had warned the two of them, he didn't say that they had a hand over their treasures. One had to know that there were dozens of primal chaos ancestral artifacts in the treasury. In other words, they could choose a primal chaos ancestral artifact. Murong glared at the two of them. Do you think I'm joking? Murong was fierce to his enemies, but he was very good to his own people. Moreover, as long as he wanted these things, he could just rob a few forces. Then I won't hold back. Tongning howled and rushed into the pile of treasures to choose. Guo Huanming, on the other hand, rushed in with a smile on his face and began choosing his treasures. Husband, what are your plans for the future? Yu Mengqing, Mu Liyue, and the others walked over and asked worriedly. Murong Yu's current situation was not good. He had the entire world as his enemy. Once his identity was exposed, he would be hunted down. Moreover, experts at the level of primal chaos ancestor saint and even autarchs would take action. Murong Yu's face darkened. The situation was not good now, but pressure was motivation. This way, he could improve his cultivation faster. First of all, I have to improve my strength. However, even if my personal strength has reached the primal chaos ancestral saint realm, I'm still too weak. Even a Supreme's artifact is not enough. It was true that Supremes were powerful, but they couldn't even cover the entire holy world, let alone Supremes. If Murong Yu was alone, there were many things he couldn't do. This required a powerful force to back him up. Husband, you want to improve Shangxin's strength? But this will consume a lot of resources, Situ Xian said with a frown. If they wanted to improve Shangxin's strength and make it a force that could contend with other forces, they would need a long time and countless treasures. Murong Yu was not worried about time. Hichu Luo Shu could speed up time. However, treasures could not be used. With Murong Yu's current strength, it was impossible for him to obtain a large number of treasures in a short time. Although there were many treasures in the holy nation of Ninein, they were not needed to improve Shangxin's strength at all. Even if they only chose some geniuses and elite disciples to nurture, they would not be able to cultivate primal chaos ancestral saints. Even primal chaos ancestral saints were not enough. It's fine. We can slowly improve our strength. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. But nearby, we Shangxin's people can't always stay in Hichu Luo Shu, right? If we go out, we won't be able to resist other forces, Kurlan said with a frown. I've already considered this. I've already made a plan. Now you guys go back to the God world and choose some of Shangxin's top geniuses for me. The first batch doesn't need many. Let's start with 1 million people. For those who were killed in the holy world, treat their families well. Murong Yu pondered for a moment, then teleported back to the God world. At this time, Guohuanming and Tongning had already chosen their treasures. Both of them were not weak, and the sacred weapons they chose were ancestral saints. Especially Tongning, who had the bloodline of the giant tribe. At this time, she chose a sacred hammer, which was powerful and heavy. If it was transformed, it would be the size of a mountain. It was suitable for him. As for Guohuanming, he chose a long sword. They did not choose any other medicinal pills or natural treasures. After letting Yu Mengqing and the others out of Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu returned to the holy world. Shangxin's strength needed to increase, and it could not be slow. However, even if there were enough medicinal pills and resources, it was impossible to raise their cultivation realm quickly in a short period of time. The higher the realm, the harder it was to break through. Even if there was enough energy, it was difficult to break through. Then, they could only rely on natural treasures and medicinal pills. There were very few natural treasures that could help in breaking through. Even if there were, they were controlled by the major forces. Moreover, they were all one-time use. They could only rely on medicinal pills. However, such medicinal pills were also very rare. Although medicinal pills that could help a sage to break through to the great sage realm were rare, they could still be found if they were found. However, heaven-defying medicinal pills that could help a profound sage to break through to the ancient sage realm and ancient sage to break through to the Sage King realm were basically extinct in the holy world. Murong Yu had previously obtained a 3 revolutions Earth origin profound pill, which could allow a person at the peak of the ancient sage realm to break through to the Sage King realm. However, this medicinal pill was obtained by the true martial temple from an ancient secret realm. Every time one was used, there would be one less. This was because the refining method had been lost, and some of the refining materials could no longer be found in the holy world. However, Murong Yu had the yin-yang cauldron. As long as he obtained a single medicinal pill, he could refine it in large quantities. Therefore, it was still possible to use this method to greatly increase Shangxin's strength. However, Where could he find these medicinal pills that could increase his cultivation realm? Eh. Murong Yu's face suddenly revealed a look of surprise. Because whatever he thought of, it would come true. Just now, he had found a medicinal pill among the piles of medicinal pills in the holy nation of Nine. Void Origin Young Holy Pill. This medicinal pill did not have any use. It could only allow a peak sage to break through to the great sage realm. Although it was not a 100% success rate, it still increased the chances. Coupled with a large amount of resources, a not-so-unlucky peak sage would definitely be able to break through to the sage realm. Now, Murong Yu already had 3 types of medicinal pills that could increase his cultivation realm. They were the Void Origin Young Holy Pill that could raise a peak sage to the great sage realm, the Origin Young Indestructible Holy Pill that could raise a peak undead realm expert to the undead realm, and the 3 Revolutions Earth Origin Profound Pill that could raise a peak ancient sage to the sage ruler realm. Now, he only lacked medicinal pills that could raise a peak sage from the great sage realm to the undead realm, from the profound sage realm to the ancient sage realm, and from the ancestor sage realm to the primal chaos ancestor sage realm. Murong Yu did not dare to think too much about the medicinal pills that could allow one to break through from the ancestor sage realm to the primal chaos ancestor sage realm. As long as a large number of ancestor sages appeared in Shenzhen, with the accumulation of time and a large amount of resources, it was still possible for a primal chaos ancestor sage realm expert to appear. Moreover, if a large number of ancestor sage realm experts appeared in Shenzhen, ordinary experts would not dare to touch Shenzhen. These medicinal pills are not easy to find, unless I go to a large chamber of commerce or an auction house. Murong Yu muttered to himself. These medicinal pills would appear in an auction house sometimes, but not all the time. However, some large chambers of commerce would have them. However, whether it was a chamber of commerce or an auction house, they would need a large amount of financial support. Otherwise, they would not be able to obtain these heaven-defying medicinal pills. I'm poor. Murong Yu sighed as his eyes flickered. It's easy to get rich by robbing. At this time, Hichu's voice suddenly appeared in Murong Yu's mind. Murong Yu's eyes lit up. It was just like the treasury of the Nine Holy Nation. After he emptied it, he directly obtained a large number of treasures. If he could take away the treasures of the Holy Lands like the true martial temple, it was impossible for him to take away the Holy Lands, and even the super forces were unlikely to do so. Murong Yu's current strength was still a little low. However, other forces could do it. For others, they might not be able to enter those treasures, but for Murong Yu, it was not a problem. Let's make a trip to the Purple Flame Sect. A cold, killing intent flashed in Murong Yu's eyes. He knew that an expert from the Purple Flame Sect had come to the Nine Holy Nation. Murong Yu did not need to be merciful to an enemy who wanted to kill him. The Purple Flame Sect was still far from a force like the Heaven-Suppressing Sect, but it was stronger than the Nine Holy Nation. More than a dozen ancestor sages. However, in Murong Yu's eyes, the Purple Flame Sect was about the same strength as the Nine Holy Nation. Now, Murong Yu appeared outside the Purple Flame Sect. He hid his body and swaggered toward the Purple Flame Sect. Although the Purple Flame Sect was surrounded by countless formations and blocked many experts. However, it did not affect Murong Yu at all. Chapter 1528. The Purple Flame Sect occupied a large area and had many disciples. There were probably hundreds of millions of people coming and going. Of course, it was impossible for a force to have the same number of people as a country. After all, although a country had a large population, most of them were citizens of that country and not people of that country. However, it was different for a force. Everyone was a member of a force. Therefore, although the Purple Flame Sect had far fewer people than the Nine Saint Country, it was much stronger than the Nine Saint Country. Especially in terms of the number of experts, it was a level higher than the Nine Saint Country. More than 10 extremely powerful auras faintly enveloped the entire Purple Flame Sect. These were the strongest existences in the Purple Flame sect, the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sages. Other than the Primal Chaos Ancestor Sages, the Purple Flame sect had tens of thousands of Primal Chaos Ancestors. This was an extremely powerful force. However, this did not affect Muronyu at all. At this moment, Muronyu had concealed himself and swaggered through the front mountain of the Purple Flame sect, entering the back mountain. As long as it was a treasure trove, there would definitely be a peerless expert guarding it. At the same time, the treasure trove was surrounded by countless formations and restrictions. If an ordinary person did not look carefully or probe, they would not be able to discover it at all. However, Murongyu's spatial scale was getting stronger and stronger. He could see where there were formations and restrictions in the space. In addition to the peerless experts guarding nearby, Muronyu quickly determined the location of the Purple Flame sect's treasure trove. Perhaps it was because he was too confident in the strength of the Purple Flame sect. Although there was a Primal Chaos Ancestor, sages guarding the Purple Flame sect's treasure trove. However, this expert's divine will did not cover the entire treasure trove. Without divine will, there were only countless formations and restrictions. These could not stop Murongyu's footsteps at all. Without attracting any attention, Muronyu rushed into the Purple Flame sect's treasure trove. Similar to the Nine Saint country, Muronyu did not even look at it. He directly took out the Hichu Luoshu and took all the treasures that could be taken away. After half a day, Muronyu finally left the Purple Flame sect's treasury through the transfer array. However, this time, Muronyu did not leave his name. This had become an unresolved matter for the Purple Flame sect. The treasury had been emptied, but what made them want to vomit blood was that they had no idea who had emptied their treasury. Of course, this was something that would happen in the future. It wasn't until a long time later that someone from the Purple Flame sect entered the treasury. Only then did they vomit blood and realize that there was nothing left in the treasury. After leaving the Purple Flame sect, Muronyu changed his appearance and appeared in a restaurant in a big city. Here, Muronyu would be able to find out more about him. Those forces were shouting even more fiercely. These forces were Murongyu's targets. Actually, what Muronyu wanted to empty the most right now was the true martial temple. However, he was only thinking about it. The true martial temple was so powerful that he might not be able to enter their treasury. If he was captured, it would be a tragedy. Moreover, Muronyu wasn't sure if Paragon True Martial was overseeing the True Martial Temple. If Paragon True Martial was present, Muronyu would definitely be throwing his life away. The sacred world has been turned upside down. The chaotic celestial body and even the True Martial Temple have put a bounty on Muronyu. Someone in the restaurant was discussing. I heard that even the sacred race and the Yao race have made their move. Right now, many strange races have entered our human territory in an attempt to capture Muronyu. Although Muronyu has the support of the Seamless Tao, and although the Seamless Tao is powerful, they have too few disciples. They can't hold off the various forces of the sacred world. I think Muronyu is dead for sure this time. I heard that once a chaotic celestial body matures, it can surpass sovereigns and become a primal chaos controller. It can be said to be extremely powerful. I reckon even the sovereigns and sovereigns won't be able to resist taking action. I'm also tempted. If I can kill Muronyu and take over his body, one by one, the experts in the restaurant began to laugh. It was as if they had already obtained Murongyu's body. With just you, a trifling ancestor sage, I'm afraid that Muronyu will directly kill him. Someone said disdainfully. Although Muronyu is powerful, if he dares to appear in front of me, I will directly kill him. He's just a profound sage. I can kill him with a single finger. The one who spoke was a young man who was incomparably arrogant. Haven't you heard? A few days ago, Muronyu appeared in the holy nation of Nine and directly killed a primal chaos ancestor sage of the holy nation of Nine. Are you stronger than that primal chaos ancestor sage? The young man's face suddenly became gloomy. Although he was conceited, he also knew his own strength. Even if I'm not Muronyu's opponent, my family's old ancestor has already come out of seclusion. My family's old ancestor is a third-rank primal chaos ancestor sage, and killing Murong-yu is more than enough. Not far from the young man, Murong-yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. After staying in this restaurant for half a day, Murong-yu had learned a lot of information. Many powerhouses of different races had already entered the territory of the human race. Many forces of the human race had also moved, looking for Murong-yu's traces. The young man who spoke was surnamed Li, and he was a descendant of the Li family, a large force nearby. Although the Li family was inferior to the Purple Flame sect, its strength was similar to that of the holy nation of Nainin. It's the Li family. Murong-yu's eyes flashed, and after leaving a Saint Crystal, he left the restaurant. Although the Li family was powerful, the security of their treasury was not as tight as that of the holy nation of Nainin. In less than half a day, the treasury that the Li family had accumulated for countless years was completely emptied by Murong-yu. In the following period of time, Murong-yu did not stop making moves. Murong-yu emptied the treasury of each and every major force. Moreover, Murong-yu did not fail at all. In half a year, the treasury of Murong-yu had been emptied by more than 50 forces. At this time, Murong-yu's wealth was close to that of the super forces. In fact, the forces that Murong-yu made moves on were not considered major forces. In the Holy World, there were many levels of forces. Of course, the Holy Lands were undoubtedly the most powerful. The 10 Holy Lands were one of the largest forces of the human race. Excluding the Holy Lands, they were the pinnacle forces. The pinnacle forces did not have supreme beings or supreme weapons, so they were slightly inferior to the Holy Lands. However, not every force could be called a pinnacle force. Only when a force had at least 10,000 primal chaos ancestor sages would they dare to call themselves a pinnacle force. However, if a force did not have supreme beings or supreme weapons, no matter how many primal chaos ancestor sages they had, they could not be called a holy land, even if they were stronger than some holy lands. Below, the pinnacle forces were the top forces, and they must have at least 5,000 primal chaos ancestor sages. As for the major forces, they must have 100 primal chaos ancestor sages. The forces that were robbed by Murong-yu had at most a few dozens of primal chaos ancestor sages. They could not be considered as major forces at all. They could only be considered as mid-sized forces. However, these forces had a long history, and there were many treasures in their treasury. However, Murong-yu's wealth was still not comparable to super forces, but it had definitely surpassed the average major forces. These treasures are enough to push Shenzhen to the level of an average major force. Elixirs and sacred weapons are enough for the time being. However, if we want to make Shenzhen stronger, we need more resources. In the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong-yu muttered. He wanted to continue making moves, but after thinking about it, he still returned to the divine world. In the divine world, Shenzhen's 1 million disciples had been selected. These 1 million disciples were all extremely talented and loyal people. They would become the reliance to run rampant in the holy world. These people would help Murong-yu dominate the world. Originally, Murong-yu did not want to dominate the world, but he was forced to do so. If he did not dominate the world, there would always be blind people who would attack him. Murong-yu did not want this kind of trouble to keep appearing, so he could only make himself stronger. As long as he unified the holy world, there would naturally be no one in the holy world who would attack him. In fact, if he wanted to master the primal chaos sacred body, he would also need to control the primal chaos. Murong-yu would have to contend for hegemony sooner or later. 1 million genius disciples. Murong-yu would focus on nurturing them. He would do his best to raise their strength to the highest level. They would become a sharp knife for Shenzhen. After returning to the divine world, Murong-yu kept these people in the Hichu Luo Shu. Now, your mission is to cultivate. Don't worry about resources. I will provide you with enough resources. Your goal is to raise your strength to the highest level. Are you confident? Murong-yu tried to motivate them before they started cultivating. Yes. Among these 1 million people, A considerable number of them had followed him all the way from the cultivation world and the immortal world. They were all talented and loyal people. Therefore, before Murong Yu's voice fell, they answered loudly and affirmatively. Good. Some of you are already in the saint and great saint realm, but there are also people who are only in the quasi-saint realm. But don't worry, you will all become stronger. Therefore, Murong Yu activated time acceleration, and accelerated time to the limit of what they could bear. Time acceleration requires a lot of sacred veins to burn. These sacred veins, snatched from the major forces, can only be provided to these people to improve their cultivation. What is burned is the primal chaos sacred vein. Let's make a trip to the primal chaos secret ground. Murong Yu muttered, but did not immediately teleport to the primal chaos secret ground. Now that he had obtained a large number of primal chaos ancestral artifacts, he wanted to raise his strength by a few more small realms. The stronger he was, the less dangerous it would be to collect the primal chaos sacred veins, and the more primal chaos sacred veins he would obtain. Sharpening a knife would not delay the work of cutting wood. Just as Murong Yu was about to raise his strength, a smile appeared on his face. He had received a piece of news. This news was actually obtained by his clone in the Phoenix clan. Experts from the Phoenix clan had come to the human clan, and their target was naturally Murong Yu. In addition to the Phoenix clan, people from the Dragon clan had also come. What made Murong Yu speechless was that his clone had also come with the main group. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.